Ever have that one friend who loves something you know nothing about? Something you wish they could explain better? Well, this isn't that show. Welcome to Drunk Fandom, the show where we have a drunk person explain something they love to a sober friend who is clueless.
Drunk Fandom contains swears and other not safe for work content. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. The Fierce Ferrets do not condone excessive drinking, but if you do, please drink responsibly. Enjoy the show!
Okay, and welcome back to Drunk Fandom. This is episode 4, the Chronicles of Riddick. Apparently I am sober yet tongue-tied. I am joined by the Wombat Baron. You may have seen her on our Twitch channel, our Twitch Discord. You may have seen her name on several of the Dungeon Minis comic strips that, she's written for. Wombat, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
Yeah, she's had a few already to try and, soak that up. Against the norm of the show, she did make a request that we both do a shot of vodka. So
yes.
I'm lucky
that was a big
that
shot.
Yeah, I'm lucky that I am burdened by such fat that this probably won't affect me at all.
Let me just get my chaser ready.
Yeah, right. Oh, I don't have anything okay.
Do you want me to pour some in there? I haven't drank from the bottle
I'm good.
Yet.
I'm
okay.
This is the one time I'll be straight about things, right?
Okay.
All right.
Samesies.
All right. Ready?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. 1, 2, go.
Oh, just like nail polish remover, but it's the best.
Basically, it's So aside from that, what are you drinking today? Oh my god.
The kitchen sink.
Yeah.
So because it's the Chronicles of Riddick, I had some Riesling. It's my favorite brand. Relax. I had a Corona, and I'm having some more vodka with Pepsi.
Okay, so you're just all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a party in your mouth, and everyone is invited. Okay, you know what? I realized I said it outside of my brain, and it didn't really sound great.
True. Okay.
So this is the part of the show where we talk about what I know about the Chronicles of Riddick, and we're going to add a new segment to it where we talk about what I think the Chronicles of Riddick is about. What I know about the Chronicle
so
Riddick.
For this.
What I know about it, it's about a character named Riddick, who is basically Vin Diesel. Am I warm?
I mean, yeah.
Portrayed by Vin Diesel, though, right?
He's portrayed by Vin Diesel.
Okay, and what I think about this. A blind Vin Diesel is trying to find the power of friendship, maybe, to save the day and then end up playing some Dungeons and Dragons so he can get a new tattoo. And we'll see how far off I am tonight.
I mean, you don't even need me. You nailed it. I should
Boom!
know.
Yeah, okay. 5 minutes. Let me have some more alcohol.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Alright, so, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so, as far as I know, the very first thing that came out, anything Riddick, was the movie Pitch Black. But there have been so many things now that have come out that, I found a timeline that I think is a little bit questionable.
Okay, so but, I'm curious of one thing.
Yes.
Because with movies, we've been talking a lot about video games and stuff like that on the exclusively video games. This is the first non-video game thing, and I know Chronicles has some video games, but is this based on something? Was it a comic book or something, or a book series before it became a movie, or did they just make a movie and then rolled with it?
Okay, so as far as I know, I actually did used to know this, and I completely blanked out just now. Blame the vodka. But as far as I know, this was a thing that was the brainchild of, I believe Vin Diesel came up with the concept.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. And I'm sure people will correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Well, it's the internet, so they will.
Clearly.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, so it was just this character that they came up with that, you know, it was like, he's this super badass that can see in the dark, and then they just kind of rolled with it. And
yeah,
now it's a
this
franchise.
actually sounds like something Vin Diesel would come up with, because, like, I made a D&D joke, but he plays a lot of D&D, and he would know what dark vision is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and it's amazing.
So basically, the Chronicles of Riddick is him playing a D&D character.
Essentially.
Oh, nice.
The most badass character ever.
I mean, it's Vin Diesel, so yeah.
I know.
All right, so okay. Now that I got that, it seems like the movies are the source material, and then they just branched out.
Basically, like so like I said before, there's a lot of little things. So there's like, you know, there are the films,
yeah,
and then there are like, you know, a couple of motion comics and like short films and stuff like that. But like, I mean, I'm a big believer in just, you know, accepting whatever you feel is canon, but canon is essentially like, I would assume like just the movies you would take as canon.
Well, no, yeah.
Because like I was saying before, I found this timeline that is a little bit suspect. There are certain things that I'm not sure really fall where the timeline says it does, but yeah, like there's immediately one thing that was sort of like questionable in Pitch Black, and I'm just going to mention this and then I'll start going in chronological order.
Yeah, go for it.
In Pitch Black, there's this kid named Jack who asks Riddick how his eyes got that way, and he tells Jack that you gotta kill a few people, then get sent to a prison where you will never see the light of day again, and then you have to pay a doctor 20 menthol cools to do a surgical shine job on your eyes. So, now that I've said that, there is a comic that technically is the very beginning of all of this, in which it actually does portray that happening.
Okay, so the movie was first.
Yes.
And then they maybe did it like a prequel comic. Okay.
Yeah. So, what happened was, Riddick gets sent to this prison.
Okay,
yes.
so just curious, because it's the Chronicles of Riddick and everything like that. So, is Riddick his first name or his last name? I've always wondered that.
His full name is Richard B. Riddick.
That's his full name. So his first name is Dick, basically.
Essentially.
Dick Riddick.
Yeah. Don't let him hear you say that.
I really don't want to say that joke to Vin Diesel, so...
I mean, like, yeah. But if I ever met Vin Diesel and he, like went into full Riddick, I'd be like...
Sploosh, basically, yeah.
Like, you're my hero. But yeah, so, there was this animated thing called, Slam City. And that's the start, basically, of everything. It shows, the whole video is, documents a prison break, and it's Riddick's prison break. He gets sent to, this prison, like, frozen in cryo sleep, and when they wake him up, they kind of, like, kick him awake. And the guard that kicks him awake...
Rude.
Oh, yeah, Riddick's not having it. So he grabs the guy's shoe, like his foot, breaks his leg back the other way, and shoves his own foot in his mouth. Because it's like, yeah, no, you don't do that to me. And at this point, like, his eyes are normal, he doesn't have the iconic goggles or anything like that. So yeah, it's like, on a planet, it's like this sort of like rotating prison.
I thought you were gonna be like rotating planet. I'm like, well, that is a planet. They tend to do that.
No, but like the prison sort of like is orbiting in space.
Okay. So like it orbits something.
Yeah. So at the beginning, like they indicate that there's 5 males and everything, and like Riddick is one of them, and then that all happens. So then, like, like, he winds up in the fray. After he does that, there's, like, this guard who I assume is, like, a newbie. So Riddick...
There's always that guard.
Oh, yeah. And he's scared shitless and has no idea what to do. So Riddick immediately is like, that guy, and goes and takes his gun and essentially kidnaps him.
What did he do to get in prison?
He's a murderer.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
But I'll get to why I love Riddick so much.
I mean,
because,
you know, if
this...
you've ever watched Dexter, you kind of... the protagonist doesn't need to be a hero. It just needs to be the main character.
That's the thing about him. As we go, you're gonna start to notice a pattern about him. That it's like... It's not that I condone anything that he does, because I don't. But it's like... I feel like there's way more to him than just like, oh, this guy is just like a cold-blooded killer. Which he is, but...
No, I get you, and that's totally and that's totally cool.
So yeah, he goes and basically like crashes the party. Oh, I forgot to mention the guy who kicks him. He calls it CBR, combat boot resuscitation. So I mean, even more so, I'm so glad that Riddick did that, because that was. No. So anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, so he kidnaps this guy, basically crashes the party while the merc who brought him in, merc is mercenary, so while the merc who brought him in is trying to collect the fee, he basically comes in and steals the credits that the guy was supposed to have and escapes within the prison. Then he winds up, like, sort of, in this underground area.
Yep.
Where he gets knocked out immediately by these people referred to as the Shiners. And they all have those eyes, and they can see in the dark.
Yeah.
So the thing about those eyes is, like, it's not that you can't see in the light, it's just that it's much more difficult, and the brighter it is, the more like... Okay, so essentially, like, when a light is, like, too hot on somebody...
Yeah, it's like when you need
use...
sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, which is why he wears the goggles, to
Yeah.
help him, but, like, in the dark, he sees... It's kind of purpley, and it's kind of pretty. But, like, he can see perfectly in the dark, whereas in the light... he has a bit of a hard time. And that's essentially what these people are. So, yes, it's like a drove, some light sensitivity. So he gets knocked out and found by this doctor guy. And the doctor guy says to him, like, hey, you know, like, I found you, like, the Shiners, they basically jumped you and everything. So he goes, okay, well, what do I have to do to get my eyes like that? And the doctor says, oh, well, you know, 1,000 credits, and you could do it. So Riddick stole a pack of cigarettes, cool brand cigarettes, from the guard when he had kidnapped him.
Yeah.
So he says, well, I have a pack of these cigarettes that I will give you, and you can take that as your payment until I go get my credits back from these people. So the guy's like, yeah, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, you know, some highly expensive experimental surgeries.
Yeah.
I like smoking. Smoking's great.
Exactly. So that's the 20.
As a doctor, I should speak out against it, but...
I mean, he's also doing illegal eye surgeries.
You know, fair point.
Basement of a prison. So anyway.
What? Was the doctor a prisoner, or was he just, like, hiding out there? Being like, they'll never find me if I'm already here.
I think he was... Okay, so if I recall correctly, they never actually answered that question, but I'm pretty sure he was just, like, some chop shop sort of doctor that, you know, wound up being, like, the go-to guy, and I guess he sort of got away at some point. I don't even know. But anyway, this guy... Oh, yeah! That's right. He was actually a bovine doctor before he came here, so he
so cows exist in this setting.
Yeah. So he worked on, like, cattle and stuff. So, like there are, like, earthly
So the other trope
creatures
of
and
it's
stuff.
basically a vet. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are earthly creatures and stuff in the setting, but it's also, like alien monsters and stuff like that, which I'll get into later. So he gets this shine job on his eyes, and the guy is like, oh, well, oh no, I'm sorry. He says to the doctor, don't give me any anesthetic. The guy's like, oh, okay, but this is gonna hurt, like, really, really bad. And Riddick goes, pain's good, it reminds me I'm alive. So he gets this thing done, no anesthetic. He goes after these shiners, and he winds up chasing them into this sort of like, this room. It's like, I want to say infirmary, but it's not. That's not the word. But there's fire. What's the word for that?
Okay, so I feel like for safety reasons I have to let everyone know there shouldn't be fire in an infirmary. An infirmary is generally where people go to, heal from massive amounts of fire or other injuries.
Yeah.
So, are you talking about a crematorium?
Incinerator room. That's what it is.
Well,
Incinerator.
Okay. Is it to like incinerate people or trash or trashy people?
It's trashy people.
Oh,
so
lovely.
Yeah, like the way that it was animated was kind of weird, and like I rewatched it recently just to, like, because I kind of remembered it, but then I was like, okay, I could definitely brush up, and I remembered it from the first time that I saw it, that like the way it's animated is kind of weird, but he does this like maneuver and gets away from the fire, and it like scorches one of the shiners. But yeah, so he winds up like getting to the actual infirmary, and if I recall correctly, he like kidnaps one of the he wasn't a doctor, he was kind of like an assistant, and he gets him to like wheel him.
Did the doctor like constantly remind him of that?
What, that he wasn't a doctor?
Yeah, like he was like, you realize you're not a doctor, never gonna be Michael, you're just gonna be my assistant for fucking ever.
I mean, I would like to think so, because this guy just folded real quick, like, yeah, sure, okay, alright.
Yeah, you know what? Headcanon confirmed.
Because here's the best part. One of the other things about this, about Slam City that I didn't understand was that, oh, and by the way, Slam City, the reason it's called that, I probably should have mentioned this before, is because this prison thing that he's in right now is called Slam City. But, like...
I'd rather a prison be called Slam City than Smash City. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
No, too much Smash Brothers going on in that other one.
Yeah. But, so anyway, yeah, so that was the other thing I didn't understand. Like, so he gets this guy to wheel him to, like, the boss's office, essentially.
So this is the guy we've dubbed Michael, right?
Yes. So he gets
Michael, yeah, okay.
To wheel him to this thing. Unlike the first guy that he took captive, he doesn't have a gun on him. He's not like holding a knife to his throat or anything. He's just in this gurney, and this guy is wheeling him like super obedient, and just like.
Sounds like he was into it on a super personal level.
Man, fuck that guy. That guy tells me all the time, I'll never be a doctor. Fuck this place. So, he gets there, and, oh yeah, he actually steals he steals the goggles from, like, from Michael. He steals them, and I don't understand why that's a thing, but that's beside the point. So, there's a lot about this comic I didn't understand. So, So yeah, he gets wheeled to this thing, he winds up escaping, and, oh, I'm so sorry, one of the things I forgot to mention, when he first escaped, they released the dogs, like these like German shepherds, to find him.
Okay, so they unleashed the hounds.
Yes.
For 3 mana.
Yes.
That's a Hearthstone joke.
Yes.
For people who listen and play Hearthstone.
So, or watch you play Hearthstone.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's why we're having her on the show, because it's called promotion within itself.
Yeah. What?
Because the only people who can watch this currently are the people who already watch me.
So anyway, so I'm just as effective on this as I am in real life. Good to know.
Critical hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hang on a second. So yeah, when they released the hounds, one of them actually found him. And he had, this scar on his face and, a really, mean-looking dog that Riddick kind of got to calm down, and he was petting him and everything, and, that is a thing that will happen again later, and Riddick says it's an animal thing. Because
does he have, did he take the skill, handle animal?
Essentially.
Shit, that's awesome.
Essentially, these beasts, I've noticed especially, the canine sort of beasts that should be tearing him apart, they tear apart everybody else. They're just "Arr!" and then and then he stares them down for a bit, and then the next thing you know, he's yeah, you're a good boy, and that's it. So he sort of befriends this dog. This dog leaves, doesn't alert anybody, doesn't attack him, whatever. So now, fast forward to when he's trying to steal a ship to get away, and one of the guards is there with the dog that he befriended, and the guy's yeah, I got you now, and he's Max, attack him, and Riddick is yeah, nah, Max, do the thing. And instead of attacking Riddick, Max, rips out this guy's throat and allows Riddick to escape. And,
Max got play of the game.
Essentially, yeah. Yeah, Max was great. I like Max. So, yeah,
Wait, it was a German Shepherd?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. That must be a Mad Max reference.
Maybe.
Because the dog in that was a German Shepherd.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like German Shepherds. But anyway, yeah, so he gets to escape, and in this, if we go chronologically, this is where we find out where Riddick meets one of his biggest nemesis in the whole series, who is a merc named William J. Johns. Johns was hired by Slam City to go after Riddick. And he's yeah, bring him to Hubble Bay, which is another prison And John's is when I catch him, why don't I just bring him back here? And they flat out say, we're scared shitless of him. We don't want him back here. What was it? He was there for,
So basically a prison is hey,
yeah.
We need you to get this crazy inmate back.
I'm gonna
but bring him to any other fucking prison but here. Why?
Yeah.
Because fuck that guy.
I'm actually gonna look it up because I wrote it down specifically.
He literally took Mike's boot and shoved it up his own ass. Doesn't even walk right anymore.
During the time that he was in Slam City, he was there for 11 hours and 22 minutes before he escaped, and during that time he killed 2 guards and 1 med tech. The med tech was Michael, by the way. He killed Michael.
Oh, well, Michael was a punk, so...
Yeah. So, as far as I know, there's nothing about, Hubble Bay, there's no thing that, tracks him, in Hubble Bay, but it's implied that he escapes from there, too, and Johns goes on the hunt for him again. So that's where we get to the first video game, Escape from Butcher Bay. Butcher Bay is this no-joke sort of prison.
As opposed to the other prison, which was full of laughters and sunshine and butterflies.
For Riddick, it was.
You're not wrong. From the sound of it, he broke a guy's foot and shoved it up his own... or down its throat, and then...
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Traded cigarettes for an amazing eye surgery, and...
Yeah.
That prison sounds kind of weird.
I also love that in that iteration of how he got his eye shine, he was yeah, I mean, just take these cigarettes, and then once I get my credits, I'll pay you back. And then he was whatever.
That fucking doctor was really bad at bartering.
Yeah, he was.
He literally had all the cards on the table, and he was just yeah, okay.
I will take 1,000 credits. How about some cigs? Okay. So, yeah, so we go to Butcher Bay,
So, like, is Riddick really charismatic, or?
The thing about Riddick is that Riddick is, like, he can be really funny, but he generally keeps, like, very, like he talks like this most of the time. Like, at a very low, grovelly...
Well, color me
thing.
Scared and horny.
Like, basically. So he's, like, he mostly keeps that level.
Yes.
So we get to Butcher Bay, and Johns brings him to Butcher Bay. He captures him again.
Yeah.
And
who was Johns again?
Johns is the merc that Slam City hired.
Oh, so he's a bounty hunter, yeah.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So he goes to...
Didn't he ever just get... Well, no, he gets paid for each time he brings him in, so he's probably laughing his way to the bank every time.
Yes, except for this time. I don't think they ever said what Johns did to piss off the warden at Butcher Bay, but, like, from the start, it's well established that Johns did something to piss off Hoxie, who is the prison warden of Butcher Bay, and he's this, like, I'm bad at accents. He's like Dutch or something, I think. I'm just gonna drink this.
Okay. It's good to know that the Dutch reached advanced spaceflight before everyone else.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So there's Hoxie, who's like, yeah, sure, we'll take it. Because by this point, Riddick has earned a bit of a reputation.
As one could, surmise.
From, like, the way he's like, yeah, okay. So, Butcher Bay, the head guard there is this dude, Abbott, who, when I was trying to brush up on my stuff, because I haven't played this game in, like, I don't know, like, over 10 years, so I needed to, like, read up on something, and I forgot until I read it, and it made me laugh my ass off again. Does the name Exhibit mean anything to you?
The guy who pimped rides, right? Yeah.
He did the voice of Abbott.
That's fucking amazing.
So he's like, Riddick. It's like...
Riddick, come on down. We're gonna pimp out your cell.
Yeah, like, none of the prisoners like him. He's a douchebag.
Oh, but Exhibit seems so nice with all those cars.
Yeah, but he couldn't pimp out the prison. Just sad.
Probably lack of funds.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's like, nobody's ever escaped from this place, and, like, nobody ever will. And, like, one of the things that he said, and I think it's one of the things that totally illustrates what a douche this guy is, he was like, there's, like, you can't have contraband. Don't ask what contraband is. I define it day by day. So basically, just have lint in your pockets. Fuck you. So yeah, like, immediately, like, Abbott has this one guy, Rust, who's one of the prisoners, who is also, like, the leader of the gang in the cell block that, Aquila, I believe the name of the gang is, that, he runs this gang. He gets this guy, I don't remember the guy's name, but, this guy is talking about Riddick. And one of the other prisoners is like, hey, Riddick, so this dude is talking about you like he knows who you are. So Riddick is like, okay. And he goes to see this guy, and he says to him, like, you're talking about me, that's not good, like, what's the deal? So the guy's like, oh yeah, like, I can get you a shiv, like, I can take care of you, just go to my cell, and I have a shiv in there for you. So he goes to the guy's cell, and it's a setup, and a bunch of Rust guys are there, and try to jump him, because they're foolish enough to think that there's strength in numbers. And that doesn't work.
And they failed to realize that they are not the protagonists.
No, they're not. So, yeah, I can't wait to get to my favorite Riddick kill. But anyway, because I do have one. So...
I mean, from the fact that you had to have a favorite kill sounds like there's a lot.
Oh, there's a ton, but...
Did the guy with the foot die?
I would assume so. If he didn't die and Riddick...
Could you imagine he asphyxiated because he didn't pull it out?
I mean, Riddick's not the type to usually leave people alive, so if you don't ever see the person again, I just always assume that he's
another
dead.
tally there.
Yeah. So yeah, he goes to the cell and, like, he gets jumped, and of course he wins. So he goes back to the guy, and he's like, what the fuck was that? Because, I'm gonna kill you now. And the guy was like, no. Listen, I was put up to it. It's this guy, Rust. Like, go to your cell. I promise you I actually will give you a shiv so you can protect yourself. I'll be there in a little while. So Riddick goes to his cell, and the guy, Madsen, I actually think his name is, now that I think about it. He goes to the cell, he gives him a shiv, but then Rust shows up. And Rust is like, everything here is mine, including that, and you need to buy a shiv from me if you want protection. So, Riddick, of course, doesn't take kindly to that. A little bit of a scuffle ensues, which ends up with the shiv, like, directed at Rust's throat, and he's like, you see this? It's mine. You can't say anything about it. So then Abbott comes in, and that's when you find out that Rust is essentially owned by Abbott.
Okay, well...
Yeah, so
yeah.
when, like, during that encounter, you hear, like, some sirens and stuff go off, and there's, like, a riot, and, during that time, he kind of, like, he wants to see how everything works and everything, so, if I recall correctly, he winds up instigating another fight. I don't remember exactly what happens, but he winds up... Let me check my nose for a second, because I'm really lost at that point. Let's see.
That's generally the alcohol, but
it's
you do
the
you.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, so during a riot, and I feel like Riddick would have instigated it, but I'm not 100% sure. During a riot, he winds up going into the sewers of Butcher Bay. And that's where he meets this guy who calls himself Pope Joe, if I recall. And, sorry. And Pope Joe, he tells Riddick, Riddick gets hurt in the interim, and he tells Riddick that he'll help him out, and he'll fix him up if he retrieves, his, what does he call it? His sacred voice box, I think, which is just a radio, because this guy's kind of crazy. So he goes, he retrieves the radio, he patches him up, and this is, the first time that Riddick has this vision where, excuse me. So, remember how I said that there was, this weird thing about how he got the shine job on his eyes that was, a discrepancy between Slam City and Butcher Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is where the discrepancy is. Riddick, at the start of Butcher Bay, his eyes are normal, and he hasn't had the shine job yet.
Yeah, okay, so that sounds like a...
Yeah, so it's at this point, when he's with Pope Joe, that he hears this woman's voice in his head. The woman is this character, Shira, if I recall correctly. It begins with an S. I think it's Shira. And she tells him that he's been blind for too long. And the next thing he knows, he kind of, does one of these things. And his eyes are different.
So he forgot he was blind for a little while?
No, he wasn't actually blind.
Excuse me.
Bless you. The whole thing is that, she is trying to tell him that there's so much more that he needs to be seeing, that he's just I guess it's more you're not really seeing the bigger picture, and you're not really being as...
Now, is this just an imaginary woman, or is this someone physical?
That's the thing. We don't actually know.
Oh.
That, she actually shows up in a later thing like, corporeally. At this point, she's just a voice in Butcher
Oh,
Bay.
okay, yeah.
But yeah, so we don't know if she's just like this spirit that talks to Riddick, or if she's like an actual person who at one point was alive. Like, we don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, he hears her voice and everything, but like after he sort of shakes it off, and he looks around and he notices like he's having trouble focusing because like his eyes are totally different. He grabs Pope Joe by the throat and like puts him up against the wall, and he's like, "What did you do to me?" He's like, "I just fixed your arm. Like, what are you talking about? What did I do?" So then, like, he starts to realize, I can see in the dark, I can use this to my advantage, you know, that's fine. He winds up killing Rust. And, like, he cracks some joke, like, you know, like, so this is the monster of Butcher Bay. You know, like, whatever. Like, because he made quick work of him. So Abbott says to him, you know, like, Rust was my head rooster and everything, and, you know, like, I respect you now, Riddick. I can make your life really easy in here. Do you want to be my new number one? So Riddick, being Riddick, is like, nah, I'll pass. And Abbott's like, well, fuck you, and now I'm going to make your life 1,000,000 times harder. But, like, the other people in the prison notice that he's, like, not taking Abbott's bullshit, and he's like, and they're like, oh, you know, like, you turned him down. That's really cool. So
it's like High School Musical, but in prison with Vin Diesel and Exhibit, and we're at this strange little like tension between the two. Except Riddick is just basically going, "Nah, man, I'm outie."
You know, I never knew I needed that in my life until you just
right, like a musical version of this. I would totally watch that. It'd be like Repo, the Genetic Opera, only more fighting.
I love Repo, the Genetic Opera.
Yeah.
But,
the music was divine.
Oh my god, yeah. Right? So, anyway, so here's one of the things that, like, as I played the game, and I remembered this very clearly when I was, like, brushing up on it, one of the things that I was like, what the fuck were you guys thinking, was at the very beginning, when he gets in there, they put him in, like, oh god, what's the, like, their sort of first level security, and it's like, you have this notorious killer coming in. I would at least put him in, like, the secondary level security, because, like, first level is, like, baby school for him. So, like, he goes in there, immediately starts causing problems, like, picks a fight with, I mean, albeit they kind of picked the fight with him, but, like, he picks a fight with this, like, gang leader and wins. So then they take him to, the, second level. And, oh yeah, I'm sorry, single max. It's single max, double max, triple max.
You would think, like, the guy who keeps escaping from prisons, too, you'd put him at the bottom. You know, the triple max, but...
But logic. These people, that's...
Well,
that
now we understand why Riddick is constantly escaping this. He's trying to escape the stupidity of it all.
But that's the thing. He actually says... I don't remember if it's in Butcher Bay. I think it actually is in Butcher Bay. Yes, it is, because... Well, I'll tell you that in a second, because that's actually toward the end of the game. But yeah, so he winds up meeting this guy while he's in Double Max. He winds up meeting this guy, Valance, who is voiced by Ron Perlman.
Well, that's just fucking amazing.
Right? Like, when I never realized that was Ron Perlman until recently, and I was like, holy shit. Because that dude's awesome. But, yeah, so...
oh boy, fell in some rough times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, while he's in the Double Max, in that area of the prison, there are these sort of, like, pit fights. The thing about the pit fights is, like, you have to pay, like... I forget what the unit of thing is. I want to say 5 credits, so I'm just going to go with credits. Like, you pay, like, 5 credits to get into a fight, but because of the prison rules, like, the guy who... Like, are you okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So the guy who, like, stages the fights, he can't, because of prison rules, he can't instigate a fight. So if you want to fight somebody, you have to go find somebody who is willing to fight you. And that's how it works.
So you just see, like, the guy in the middle of the prison being like, fight me! Fight me! And everybody's just walking around, and someone grabs someone who's about to do it and be like, no, just ignore him. Come on, do we really want to deal with this?
So Valance is kind of like the head of, like, basically, like, Rust was the king of the A block of the single max. This guy Valance, who we haven't met yet, he sort of runs things in double max. So whatever gets made on the fights, a portion of it goes to him. So Riddick fights this dude and wins. And then there's this other guy he needs to fight who's actually a prison guard.
Yeah.
And Riddick, like, beats the guy to death. Because
Shocker.
Yeah, because the rules of this thing is, like, there's the circle. And during the fight, you cannot step out of the circle. And neither of you can step out of the fight until one of you is dead. So essentially, 2 men enter, 1 man leave. So they go in the circle. Riddick beats the guard to death. And yeah, and Abbott doesn't like that very much. Okay, so like, so Riddick kills this guard, and
Shocker.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I actually forgot to mention a thing before that's kind of important. Okay. At one point, when Riddick had initially tried to escape, he realized that he needed like a retina scan from a guard. So he tried to murder Abbott and basically use his eyes for it. And Johns found him and stopped him. And Johns was like, yeah, we're getting off this fucking thing, because Hoxie was so mad at Johns that he basically wasn't giving him the asking price that he wanted. Because Hoxie was like, no, we're even. For what you did to me, we're even. For you bringing me such a high-class prisoner. You know, so Johns wasn't having any of that. So he was essentially going to kidnap Riddick and let him escape with him off of Butcher Bay. But then Hoxie's guys found them both, and that's what landed Riddick into Double Max. So Riddick beats the shit out of this guard and beats him to death. So then he gets taken by a couple of guards to see Abbott, who by this point is healed. And Abbott is like takes out his little bat. It's not like a
blackjack, you know, the little beaver club thing in cartoons.
What's the thing that police have? The stick.
Nightstick.
The nightstick, yeah.
As opposed to the day stick.
Exactly. It's not like that. Like, it's like this thing that sort of it's almost like a telescope, like how you pull it out.
The collapsible nightstick. I know what you're talking about.
So it's
they're just that. It's really cool to look at too. It's just like shink.
Yeah.
Whack.
This one's a little bit thicker though, but he keeps hitting Riddick, and Riddick's going at most, he's not responding. So then
it tickles.
Yeah, he's basically yeah, okay, whatever, I could do this all day. Is that all you got? And Abbott's like, oh, you think you're such a hard ass. And this is the second time that...
So, fun fact. Yeah. When you're on your knees getting whacked with a nightstick, and you're like, that's no thing, and then someone says, you think you're a hard ass, that sounds kind of homoerotic. We're talking this is some premium homoerotic levels here.
I mean, we're all adults here. So...
But you see it, right? I'm not the only one who, am I blind? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. So we're in agreement. There's a little bit of love there.
Yeah.
Between him and Exhibit.
Yeah. Well, it's more one-sided for Exhibit. Sadly.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. So anyway,
fell on some hard times after.
So then he hears Shira's voice again, at this point, and like I don't remember exactly.
Is it Shira or Shiru?
It's Shira.
Okay, because it's confusing me because there's a character in Witcher named Shiru who lights a bunch of stuff on fire, and I'm like,
I can't wait for your Witcher episode.
Right? Yeah.
Even if I'm not the one you explain it to, like I can't wait to listen to it because I barely know anything about Witcher.
Yeah. Witcher.
And it just seems so cool that I wish.
No,
that's
why Shira.
Yeah.
You know, like, wait, wasn't that a He-Man thing too? Shira. Okay, but anyway, so Shira's voice.
I'm sure I'd remember if I wasn't intoxicated.
Shira, not Shira. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
It was. It was Shira. So, yeah. So, anyway.
Yes.
So he hears Shira's voice again, and she's like, you know, I forget exactly what she says to him, but she's basically like, you know, like you should have like the full power of your people. And he earns something that, if I recall correctly, is called, like, the Rage of Furia. And he just kind of goes, like, roar! And, like, these, like, there are 4 guards and Abbott. And the 4 guards basically immediately die, and Abbott gets, like, flown through this door. And that is when Riddick kills Abbott, if I recall.
How?
I don't remember. He, like, beats him to death, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would have just... something a little less anticlimactic. So, beating Abbott, did he get out of the prison?
Okay, so now he met Valance when he was in Double Max, and Valance said to him, okay, so there's this dude... Yes, he does kill Abbott at this point, I remember. Okay, so Valance, when he was in Double Max, was like, yeah, so there's this dude, Jupiter. Excuse me. It's like
Zeus?
Yes.
Oh.
So he's like, if you...
Shit.
No, he's not. He's not actually Zeus.
God, I hope not. That might be problematic.
Yeah. So, so he's like, yes, there's this dude, he's called Jupiter. If you go to him, he'll make a bomb, and that will help us escape. And Riddick is like, alright, whatever. Like, he's actually about the plan to escape with Valance, even though, like, at first, he was, like, because Valance, like, when you meet him, I mean, it's Ron Perlman, so I don't want to be, like, a total, like, disrespectful prick about it, but he's a little bit like General Grievous in that he can't really say a full sentence without coughing up his lung.
No.
So Riddick at first is like, yeah, I don't do slowdowns, like, at all. Like, you're on your own. So he eventually agrees to go with Abbott. I mean, not Abbott, Valance. And Valance tells him, yeah, so there's Stu Jupiter. If you meet him, you could go, like, get a bomb from him. And he goes and gets this bomb. And
When you say, are you saying bum or bomb?
Bomb, like...
Okay, because I thought, like, you were like, yeah, just go get this homeless person in prison. And I was like, what are you going to do to that homeless person? What does the plan involve here?
He's the key to everything. I don't know. He's some redheaded dude that was holding a sign that said the end is nigh. I don't know.
Wait, is Jackie Earl...
I wish Jackie Earl Haley was in this. I love him. He's one of my favorite actors. So yeah, maybe they'll do that at some point. But anyway, yeah, so I believe it's before he gets into Wait. It might be actually after he gets into Triple Max. I don't remember exactly, but like he gets himself put into Triple Max after he murders Abbott. So, So
the first couple of murders didn't count, but it's like, oh, he murdered one of the employees. He might be dangerous.
Maybe. So yeah, what Triple Max is, Triple Max, they cryogenically freeze you, except for 2 minutes of the day. In those 2 minutes, they allow the prisoners to wake up to exercise. And then they freeze them again and put them on ice.
Wait, they exercise for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
That's not enough.
No.
Like, that's how much exercise me and Batclam get a day, and we're
like,
just... awful
I
shape.
remembered it as 2 hours, and the funny thing is, like, when I looked it up, it said 2 hours, but like I had this weird feeling that it wasn't. So I looked up gameplay footage, and it actually says 2 minutes, and I was like, oh, okay. So, you know.
Wow.
So, yeah, I thought, so it was like, this is your right, 2 minutes. So, if I recall correctly, he murders a guy. I think there's, like, 2 prisoners woken up at the same time or something. I don't remember exactly, but Riddick somehow gets this dude dead, and then, if somebody dies, during their exercise, they are taken and, like, put sort of, like, elsewhere other than, like, in the cells. So Riddick puts the guy's dead body over him so it'll register that they're taking the corpse. And then before it closes, he pushes the corpse out of the thing. Excuse me. And he, oh, I'm skipping a part. I'm so sorry. So, like,
it's okay, the
bomb
alcohol
Jupiter
is involved with that, so...
Yeah, because, like, I mentioned Jupiter and this bomb, and then I was like, that's not important. So, like, so this bomb with Jupiter, when he meets Jupiter, Jupiter makes this comment, and it's one of my favorite comments anybody's ever said to Riddick, and it's that, like, he's like, you know, I don't know, like, what the most uncomfortable thing about you is, but I think it's how comfortable you are in this sort of environment. Because, like, immediately Riddick's like, okay, this is what I gotta do, this is what I gotta do. Like, he's not freaking out like anybody else. He's just very calculated, like, okay, this is what I need to do to get out of this place. And then he just carries it out. And Riddick actually says to him, like, I just play the hand I'm dealt. You know? Like, that's, like... So he takes the bomb, and he sets it up to explode. And I think it's when he... I don't remember if it's before or after he's in... But, like, at some point, it goes off, and, like, there are these creatures that, like, go to, like, he witnesses them, like, eating a guard. He's like, this is beautiful. And, like... Because he has, like, you know, a weird idea of beauty. So, like...
That's definitely the definition of weird.
Yeah, so he's like...
Is he into vor? Is that where we're going with this?
Is he into what?
If I have to say it out loud again, louder, I feel... Let's just move on. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
This is a moving on moment.
Okay, I'll watch it back at some point, and then sober me will be like, no, or whatever.
Sober you is gonna, like, walk to my house and slap me in the face, yeah.
Be like, what the fuck, dude? That's what you get from this? So, anyway, yeah, so... I believe it's the bomb that goes off that, like, sort of awakens these creatures, but I think it's when he's being transported.
Wait, so there are creatures at some point in this prison?
Yeah, and they're hard to describe. They reminded me of something, and I don't remember now.
All right. So let's do a little breakdown.
Yeah.
Let's play let's build a monster game. This is the first time on this show where we're gonna do this, and you know what? It sounds like it may not be the last. So, all right. I will get a little bit of a description, and you see if you can match it. So for the monster, scales? Yes or no?
No.
Fur?
No.
Naked?
Yes.
People?
No.
Canine?
No. Okay, so, like, they're... Oh, I know a way I could describe them. They're almost like giant tadpoles with, like, these big arms that come out, and these, like, faces and
so
these, like,
buff tadpoles?
Essentially, they're like...
Holy shit!
So this thing is really fucking weird.
Do they look like Poliwhirl from Pokemon?
No, I wish. No, they look like sharks. No, okay, so they almost look like something you would see on the Sci-Fi Channel. They're like...
in a sci-fi film? Wow.
Yeah, it's almost like
shocked.
sharks and tadpoles mixed together. And there's 2 of them. There's a smaller one that takes the guard's head off and feeds the head to the larger one, who then eats it, and that's when Riddick goes, beautiful. And then the
So we're back on that, yeah.
Yeah, so then the little one goes onto the big one's back, and there's like this little alcove in the back of the big one.
Do they have eyes?
Yes.
Are they terrifying?
Okay, so...
You know, what is the name of this thing? I'm gonna Google it. I
don't know the name of it.
Alright.
I mean, maybe, like...
Butcher
Bay Pit Monster.
Pit Monster. Let's say, boom, boom,
Like,
boom,
I'll let
boom.
you know if you're on... No.
Well, that's just a buff dog.
That's a buff pit bull.
That's a pit bull. Why am I getting pit bull picked?
Oh,
Pit bulls
puppy.
aren't monsters.
No, they're puppies.
Okay,
Good
Riddick
boys and girls.
monsters.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, those are all the, like, movie monsters.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, that one's a fun one. That's from the last movie that came out.
Butcher Bay.
No, not that one.
You guys can't see this, but they're all actually horrifying.
They are.
I don't think I'm gonna find this.
No, I'll show you after, because I think, like, you could definitely, if you find, like, a gameplay video...
is this it?
No, that's the one from Riddick, the last movie that was
Jesus
just called
Christ, what the
Riddick.
fuck is wrong with them?
That
What horrifying
one is
event did the
awful.
art designers...
That one is awful, and I can't wait to show you. To tell you about that.
Okay, so we were talking about the monsters that look like giant pollywog sharks.
Yes.
And eat the guards because they were summoned by the bomb, right?
Yeah, so, like I said, I don't remember if that was in transport to the cryo thing. But yeah, so, like, when he's in Third Max, he's, like, he finds this glaring flaw, and he, like, puts this dead corpse over himself, and gets transferred to the, where they keep the dead bodies, and he escapes from there.
Okay.
But, I forgot how, but he runs into Johns again. Oh, wait, yeah, because he and Valance do try to, escape together, but, Valance finds out, Johns shows up and tries to stop them, but Valance tries to shoot Johns, but accidentally shoots both Riddick and Johns, and then after that, that is when he gets transferred to, the Third Max, when, he almost escapes with Valance. So then the guards show up, they shoot Valance, John's, John's is on crutches because, like, he just barely makes it, so Riddick gets put into that, and that's when he tries to escape, and he and John sort of get together and are like, yeah, fuck this place, let's go. So, Riddick, when they're on the thing, because Riddick tries to escape, and he's, like, cornered, there's, like, this drop-off, and, he's being shot at, and John shows up with the ship, and is like, Riddick, get on. So he gets on the ship, and then he knocks out Johns, and instead of leaving right away, he goes, because he said to Hoxie at one point, because Hoxie was like, you've been nothing but a problem, and he's like, just working my way up to the top. And if Riddick says that, he makes good on his promises. So instead of just leaving...
Hoxie was the warden, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of just leaving, Riddick's like, shh, and crashes right into the window of Hoxie's office. And he, like, jumps out. And Hoxie, like, tries to hide, like, in this, like, metal thing. And he sends out these two, like, mech things that Riddick totally, like, just destroys. And he winds up, the way that they escape is they tie up Hoxie and dress him in the clothes that they had put Riddick in, and including the goggles, which is another kind of continuity error. But the guards come in and they have orders at that point to just shoot Riddick on sight because he's just not worth the trouble. And
it only took crashing a ship into the warden's office.
Basically, so
it's something like 80s comedy bullshit.
Yeah, so the way that they escape is Riddick dresses up in a guard's uniform because at this point, because Johns was caught trying to help Riddick escape, Johns is on the shit list and he's considered a prisoner. So Riddick dresses up as a guard and like escorts Johns through the thing as a prisoner, and that's how they escape. But like so then that goes in immediately into the next game, Assault on Dark Athena. And what happens to Hoxie, by the way, is they're all really fidgety because of all the damage that Riddick has caused. So they open the door, they don't even take a second to realize it's Hoxie, and they're like, holy shit, it's Riddick! And they just shoot him, and they kill him. So Assault on Dark Athena, Johns and Riddick are sort of like floating in space in cryosleep, and they get intercepted by this merc ship called the Dark Athena that is the captain is this person.
So like, are Johns and Riddick BFFs now?
No. Johns is still Riddick's main rival in Pitch Black, which happens like after Dark Athena. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be as brief as possible with Dark Athena so I can get to the movies. So the Dark Athena is this merc ship that is captained by this woman, Gail Rivas, who her second in command is this dude Spitter, and she took it over from this other guy, Captain Sennett. And they kind of like went rogue. So she captures Johns' ship, and Riddick, like, because he has this like animalistic sixth sense, like that's part of the reason why he's always like it's an animal thing, because like he sort of operates on a different level from like normal human beings. Mm-hmm. So he sort of like is very in tune with his surroundings, and he notices that something's wrong. So he wakes up before Johns does, so he's able to sort of hide in the ship. And so when they board the ship, they only find Johns. And Rivas makes a comment about like, oh, like, Johns, you were one of the good guys. Like, at this point, he's totally knocked out. They like gassed him or something. And she was like, like, you were one of the good guys. There was this fight. I'm fucking up the details now because alcohol. But there was this like battle or something that she and Johns were both a part of. Like, she barely knew him before, but like he had, at least according to mercenaries, at one point he was like an honorable dude. But because he tried to help break out Riddick from Butcher Bay, because he was pissed off about not
his bounty,
yeah, he was pissed off about not getting any money from it. Hoxie like put out a bounty on him, so like he was on the shit list. So she knows that somebody else was on the ship. She doesn't realize it's Riddick yet, if I recall correctly, but she knows that somebody else was on the ship, but she doesn't know where he is. Riddick, in the meantime, is sort of like in the ceiling, and he reaches down and he takes this thing that Rivas has in her hair. It's like this like skull pin thing. It's actually kind of pretty, but he steals it from her.
Which is weird because he's bald.
Yeah, but like he does that. So
he steals it. Okay, yeah.
He steals things like it's like he does these like
he's like
things.
A cat.
Yeah, like he does it in Pitch Black too, which is the first movie. So he steals this thing from her, and as Rivas is walking out, she kind of like does one of these, and she like looks around because she notices it's not there anymore. But like, so Riddick goes through like the whole stealth thing like the first game, and like he's fighting through mercenaries, and like these things called drones. Drones are basically like they're human beings with like some sort of like mechanical addition to them to make them...
Okay.
Are you okay?
Yeah, that's just a sneeze. No,
Yeah,
we're good.
so they're like, bless you. So like
They're like cyborgs.
exactly, like they're programmed to follow orders. Excuse me?
Okay.
So yeah. So he makes his way through and he finds this little girl named Lynn. And Lynn tells him that, you know, she's hiding from the monsters.
Oh.
And yeah, like she's this really cute little girl and she's like, you know, like I'm hiding from the monsters, like I'm scared of the monsters, you know, and she says something to Riddick about like she said like, oh, you know, like the monsters, they're gonna catch me. And Riddick says, not if the monsters have something to worry, like have something to be afraid of. Yeah. So Lynn.
And then the girl is like, whoa, back up a second, buddy.
Okay, so like Lynn is my first example because it's chronological. Lynn is my first example of one of the reasons I love Riddick, because Riddick is portrayed as this like grotesque killer, and I'm not saying he's not, but like
it's a little kid. He has standards.
But there are a couple of children that he encounters throughout the series. And in this really weird way, he's very good with them.
No, it's actually... there was another character, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Dexter, who's, you know, if you've never watched Dexter or read the books, he's a serial killer. He kills other serial killers and bad guys. And he doesn't do it for some sort of grand crusade. It's just, oh, hey, it's least likely I'll get caught because, you know, cops don't look at vigilante killings. Yeah. Or when people disappear. But in the books and in the show, it's described he actually enjoys children more. He actually will prevent people from hurting children. He is fond of children most of the time because he can, like, almost understand them because kids are just kind of, like, doofy.
Yeah.
So it might be, like, a similar thing where it's just like, oh, kids are dorky. Like, you know, fuck it, why am I going to hurt a kid?
Yeah, so like...
It's actually, believe it or not, it's actually a really common thing, not just in literature, but in real life, you know, like in you know, Supermax and other jails and stuff like that. If you're an asshole child killer, you're more likely to get killed in prison.
That's true.
Yeah, so maybe it's like this weird, like, nurture thing. Maybe we have like a maternal Riddick, where he's got like the hair curlers, but he's bald, so they just kind of like stick it on there. And he's got the apron, and he's like,
He is sort of weirdly nurturing, but like, yeah. So he says to her, you know, like, not if the monsters have something to worry about, and she.
Does he say it sing-songily?
No, like he says it in the not if the monsters have something to worry about.
Yeah.
Kind of like, holy shit, he means business kind of thing. But Lynn says to him that she's worried about her mommy because she's afraid that they'll turn her into a monster just like they did Daddy. So that...
Ooh, that doesn't end well.
Yeah, so they apparently turned Daddy into a drone, and that's what she's afraid that they'll do to her mom. So Riddick continues to be stealth, and he makes it to this part where there's a bunch of prisoners, and he meets this guy who I believe was in Butcher Bay, because he recognizes Riddick from Butcher Bay, and there's a couple of choices you could do with this guy. If you, like, make him believe that you're gonna try to escape with him, like, he starts, like, telling you things, but he doesn't really know a lot about the prison, so... Excuse me. So he's like, yeah, so the guy next to me used to be one of the Merc officers of the Dark Athena, and he could probably tell you more. So that guy is Jailer. His name is. Jailer is a douchebag. And, Jailer is like... Jailer says some things about one of the... Like, there's only one female inmate of the Dark Athena, and he says some not so great things about So,
what are some of the not great things that he said? I'm curious.
Basically, well...
Like, are we talking, like, sexist stuff, or...?
Okay, so, let's just say I think he's into necrophilia.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, mama,
yeah,
no. No,
yeah.
no, child, no. No.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, but we don't, he makes a bunch of choice comments about this woman, Silverman, her name is. He makes some comments about her, but we don't hear the worst of it until after. But, he winds up talking to this...
Is the worst of it that she was already dead?
No, he basically says... I'll get to that. So he goes and talks to, all of the prisoners, one of whom is actually, the former captain of the Dark Athena. Rivas and her people sort of, mutineered and took it over, which is how she gained power.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what the first guy who recognizes you from Butcher Bay, that's... what he tells you, oh yeah, they're renegades though, I think. So anyway, he talks to this guy, Max, Dacker, Max Dacker. And, Dacker tells him...
That is such a goofy name.
Max Dacker. So,
would you like a daiquiri, Max? Stop it.
I would love a daiquiri. So, anyway... so he tells him, look, I was transporting this woman, Ellen? Whatever.
DeGeneres?
Silverman. I think her first name it's Ellen or Eleanor. It's an E name like that. So, he says, yeah, I was transporting...
E-name.
Yeah, Silverman, and she's, one of the most brilliant engineers I've ever met, and, she's a prisoner here, and, she could probably help you out and, give you, make a tool for you to get through the vents or something. So
is this another prison, or is this a prison planet?
No, the Dark Athena it's a merc ship, but there are prisoners within the merc ship.
Oh,
as a matter of fact, now that you mention it, the first guy that you talk to, if you try to convince him that you're gonna help him break out with you, which you're not,
Spoiler.
Yeah. So he says to you, one of the things he says to you is that, Dark Athena has their shit together. It's not like Butcher Bay, where basically, you had your abbots who sort of, looked over everything, but the prisoners still basically were allowed to do whatever. The Dark Athena has their shit on lockdown. The prisoners are, very secluded to this one area or another, and, that's it. And, they have their shit together. Which just makes it that much harder. So,
that
he...
is somewhat unbelievable.
Yeah.
The current trend of things is leading me to be skeptical about that, but go on.
I mean, Riddick is where there's a will, there's a way. He's...
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe, but where there's a will and incompetence, there's a way.
That's one of my favorite things about Riddick. If there's even, the tiniest little thing, he will exploit it. So, he goes and he speaks to Silverman, who's freaking out. When he goes to talk to her, all she's saying is, my daughter, my daughter. You find out that Lynn, the girl you met, is her daughter. And
Color me shocked.
And Lynn escaped. Lynn is trying to hide from the guards, who she keeps calling the monsters. So, Lynn is, freaking out, and she refuses to talk to him until, and she's you bastards, you took my daughter, I just want to know what happened to her. So Riddick says to her, the dark is protecting her. And when she hears that, and she realizes her daughter's okay, and she's alive, she's oh my god, thank God, and she agrees to help him make a tool, that will help get him through the vents and stuff. So... in order to get the parts she needs, he goes back to Jailer, who says, okay, I'll give you the codes, because he used to be a guard, but you have to kill the guy who sold me out and got me locked up. So he goes and kills the guy and takes his gold tooth that, as proof that he killed him. So then afterwards, that's when he starts saying, like, the really grotesque shit about Silverman. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill her, and then I'm gonna fuck her. And it's like, no. And he says...
No.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
No.
You don't do that in any order.
No.
There is no sequence with... You just kill her. That's it. You don't...
I mean,
you don't...
even that's a bit fucked up.
I mean,
but, like,
well, no, wait.
that
Isn't
kid-
Silverman the one who, like, took over?
No, Silverman's the engineer.
My bad. I thought he was talking about, like, the fucking bitch, like the one who was just I'm in charge now.
No, if it was Revis he was talking about, I'd be like, yeah, by all means kill her if that's
Yeah,
right
but don't do that second part. That's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're
But,
like,
so he says,
no.
Jailer actually says to Riddick, like, something like, I forget the exact word he uses, but he's like, rile her up for me, he says. He's like, I don't do that. And, like, and
Ew,
he starts,
Good guy Riddick. You may be a monster, but you aren't a monster.
But that's one of the things I find so fascinating about the characters. Like, by all means, he does these awful, grotesque things, but, like, he has certain things that he will not do. And it's like, and he finds that to be, like, reprehensible, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do that.
No, and I've actually seen that before in another literature, which is exactly the same thing. Some dude was trying to assault a woman, and the big bad guy who you've grown to hate for, like, 30 issues caves in his skull, and he's like, listen, we're monsters, but we're not, like, monsters.
Yeah.
Like, we're bad guys, but we're not, like, that guy is bad.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of, and when you see characters like that, you're like, you hit bare minimum.
Yes.
Good job. You hit bare minimum.
Yes. So
you get a parade.
So he he uses Jailer's information to get the...
Does he kill Jailer?
Eventually.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm more invested.
So, he gets the stuff, like, that Jailer gives him the codes and stuff to get, like, he needs a screwdriver and a couple of, like, tool parts for Silverman to make the tool he needs. So, like, he gets the tool parts, Silverman makes it, and then it goes back to I keep saying Drakkar, but it's, Dacker. And he goes back to Dacker and he's like, yeah, so, you kept your word. Silverman was exactly as good as you said she was, so, yeah, like, we can help each other out. So he gets him a comm link, and, because, Dacker promises to help him fix a ship to get out of there. And part of the thing with the tool that Silverman makes for him is that he's gonna go try to, like, release the prisoners that are there. Yeah. So he does that, and the problem with that is one of the prisoners that escapes is Jailer. So Silverman and Lynn get reunited briefly, and excuse me. Lynn tries to get her mom to help. I think he's like Riddick's caught in the vents or something. So she's like, Mommy, like, he's in the vents, you gotta help him. So she's like soldering like the thing to like get him out, and she's talking about like her newfound freedom and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, Jailer shows up and kills her. And Riddick at that like in front of Riddick and Lynn. And then Jailer starts taunting Riddick. And, yeah, like...
Didn't think this one through, did you, buddy?
No, so, like, there's actually a thing where, like, you could...
So just recap, Jailer was the guy who used to be in charge. Yeah, but he was the guy who used to be in charge, right?
No, the guy who used to be in charge was this older guy called Senate. His name was actually Senate. Captain Senate. So,
Captain Senate.
I am the Senate. So,
Did he look like Palpatine?
No. That would be funny. He actually looks like, if you look at him, he kind of looks like a sorry old man that you're like, oh, why are you here? But, not that I feel bad for mercs in this or anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he starts taunting Riddick. It's like, yeah, bare knuckle fight. And the thing is, like, there is an option that you can do, apparently. I didn't know this until recently. But, like, you can actually get him to put down his weapon, too. but he tries to be like a little asshole about it and doesn't put down his weapon. But essentially, Riddick beats him to death and avenges Silverman. And Lynn, at that point, is back in hiding. And one of the most oddly beautiful things in the whole, like, franchise happens between them at that point. And, like, she says to him, like, is my mommy sleeping? And Riddick says to her, like, she's at peace. And she starts, like she's trying not to cry, like, she's stifling, like, her sniffles and everything. And then she says, like, you know, the monsters. And Riddick goes, like, you know, the monsters, like, that monster will never leave you. But you don't have to be afraid of it. You can use it. And you can learn how to harness it and make it, like, work for you. And, like, after he's done with this big speech, like, she doesn't ask it. She says it as, like, a fact. She goes, I can be a monster, too. And it's like,
yay!
Yeah.
Little girl monsters.
So,
And you see Lynn in the vents with, like, a commando knife in her mouth, being like, I'm gonna get him.
Yeah, so, like...
Oh, wait, does that happen?
What?
Does Lynn do that?
No.
Does she go, like, full-on knife-wielding child mode?
No. So, okay, so what happens is, like...
Tell me this universe actually has, like, child protective services.
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, well...
There's a lot of fucked up shit that happens in this
space,
universe.
the final fucked up, yeah.
So, there's no Kirk to save you here. So, anyway, I mean, I'm a Spock fan anyway, but...
Shuckus.
I like Spock. What do you
I mean, that
So-
makes sense to me.
What, that I would like Spock?
Yeah.
So, anyway...
I've known you for over 10 years. You seem like a Spock fangirl.
I love Spock. So, anyway, yeah, so... Max is one, obviously, if you let out all the prisoners, Max Dakar, like, escapes as well.
Mhm.
So, he holds up his end of the bargain, and he's trying to help you fix the ship, to escape, but Revis catches up with you guys, and she kills Dakar right away, and you have a fight with her, and that, like, that hairpin that you stole from her in the very beginning, like, at the end of the fight, you stab it into her neck, and she's like, oh, and she's like,
oh, I found it, yay! Oh, wait!
Oh my god, thank you! I was, like, wondering where this went. So, like, so she falls over, and, Riddick tries to go start the ship, and there's a problem with the ship because Dakar didn't get to finish before he got killed. So he's like, you know, like, nothing's ever easy. So he goes to this pod, and he initiates, like, the escape sequence, and the doors close, and it says, you cannot cancel now that the sequence has started. And then you see Lynn right in front of you banging on the doors saying, like, take me with you, but you can't stop it now. Like, she's just there. And as you break away, you see Revis's shadow. She's not dead. And she overlooms on Lynn. And as you launch off, as Riddick launches off, she shoots a missile, which makes him crash land on the planet below. So Riddick tries to go, there's like this city or something down there that he finds, but it's crawling with Revis's men. So then he realizes the only real way that I could possibly escape is if I get back to Dark Athena. Excuse me. So I forget exactly how he gets back up to Dark Athena, but that's when he meets Spinner, who was Revis's right-hand man. And Spinner is in this, like, mech thing, and he destroys the mech, and he gains access back, and he hears, like, Lynn is trying to call for help. So he answers the call, and she's like, I knew you'd come back, I knew you wouldn't leave me. And then she says, Mommy taught me a way to make the monsters not hurt us anymore. And when he ends the call, he turns around and Revis and her men are there. And Revis is like, that's a resourceful girl you found and everything. And then she looks at them and she's like, just kill him like I forgot, like, not like the dog he is, but something like that. And she leaves. And before they get to open fire on Riddick, all of the drones that are with them turn and kill all of Revis's men. So now Riddick realizes I have control of the drones, so he takes control of one of the drones and helps Lynn through the ventilation systems to, like, activate shit and everything. So Revis winds up finding him when she realizes what's going on, and they have their final battle. And at the end of the battle, like, she's, like, sort of... Okay, so, like, picture, like, Star Wars Episode 1, like, with the pit and everything where Maul fell down. It's almost like that, except Riddick, like, she falls down, and Riddick catches her by the hand, and, he says to her something like, like, it didn't have to end this way. And she was like, like, before the fight even started, she said something about, like, how she had a hard life and, like, she's sick of his bullshit and, like, things were not supposed to go that way, but, like, everything went downhill.
And then he had, like, a single tear come down his eye and it was like,
So, like, so he catches her and I forget what she says after he's like, things didn't have to be this way. But then before she drops, because her grip is loosening, she says, "Don't forget about me." And she just falls. And he gets up and he says, like, after he gets up, he goes, you said you had a hard life, so dying won't be that, like, dying will be easy for you. Yeah, so Lynn is there, and he and Lynn get on, like, this elevator to get out, and Lynn says to him, like, will she be coming back? And Riddick looks at her and goes, "When I say goodbye, it's forever." And then the credits roll. So, like, if I...
One second.
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
No, that reminds me of a thing, since we're taking a moment to break, and you could... So, like, I don't know if you saw it, but in Witcher, there was literally, like, a moment where Geralt's up against, like, the final boss, who has been, like, this problem since the books and the games. And I can't remember the exact quote, but he's like, "I have something to tell you about your friend. I'll tell you when you're dying, broken at my feet." And they have their boss fight and everything like that, and Geralt obviously wins, and he's, like, dying and trying to reach for his sword, and Geralt just kicks it out of the way, and he goes, "I believe you wanted to tell me something?" And I'm just like, oh snap, the shade, the fucking shade.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
that is fucking great. Dying should be easy.
So now, I'm excited because now we're getting to the movie.
Yeah, okay.
So Pitch Black.
Yeah, Pitch Black.
So Pitch Black was the first.
So it's not just like My Apartment. It's just it's a film. Oh, okay.
I'll pick that up later.
It's going to Coronaville now. Okay.
Yes, we sit away in Coronaville. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Coronaville. In this lighting, it looks like blood.
Yeah.
all right, Hot Topic. We're all right. So we're movies. Pitch Black.
So Pitch Black. So Pitch Black starts with, like, a bunch of people in cryo sleep on this thing, except for a pilot and, like, a co-pilot. I forget what the pilot's name is, but the co-pilot is her name is Fry. And Fry, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, did you see the first Silent Hill movie?
I mean, I've intentionally blocked that and the sequel out of my mind. Please don't bring that up.
Okay, she was in...
Please don't traumatize me.
The actress is Rhoda Mitchell, is what I was trying to say.
Oh, who did she play in Silent Hill?
She was Rose, the mom.
Oh, the one who was like, Churro!
Yeah.
Churro!
Yeah, churro. So anyway, that's a reference to something. I didn't make that up. I'm not that smart. So anyway,
Now I want a churro, goddammit.
I've never had a churro.
They are delicious cinnamon sticks of fried dough.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I tried to get Backlam to eat one time, and she literally looked at me and just said, "Fuck cinnamon," slapped it out of my hand, and I cried for a week.
Well, I mean, she likes cheese on things more than cinnamon.
It's weird.
Cinnamon buddies for life.
You know it.
So anyway, I'm sorry, Backline.
The Chronicles of Churro.
So, or the churro of Riddick. So
Now I just got like this image of like a
like the
churro
stuff.
stick with the glasses or the goggles. Can we have that retelling and also make it a musical? Drunk suggestions are great. I'm not drunk, I'm just suggesting things to drunk people.
You're punch drunk. Right now I'm drunk, so everything sounds like, yeah, that's the best idea. So anyway, so yeah, okay, so pitch black. So like,
Cryostasis, Captain, had a eager young co-pilot.
so like, okay, so like, yeah, so they're crashing on this planet.
Yeah.
And Fry.
Wait. Intention. Well, crashes aren't usually
No.
intentional.
Like it's not intentional. So they're
And
crashing.
so like
on this
it's like
planet.
wee.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they're crashing on this planet, and Fry is kind of freaked out. So she's like, "I'm gonna let loose the cargo, which is all of the not prisoners, but all of the passengers." And the guy's like, "Don't you dare touch that dial, Fry!" And she tries to do it, but like it jams. So they all crash land on this planet, and the captain dies. But before he dies, like he's impaled by this thing. And like, you know, like that thing, like when somebody like dies, but they're like, they still have like kind of their faculties, so they like say something else.
So like in Outlast
Yeah.
with that one guy who was like clearly like you think he's dead, and then he's like, "Don't go into the building." And you're like, how are you alive? You
Yeah.
have a giant rod going through your fucking body.
Yeah. So like Johns is in this, and obviously Riddick, and like a whole bunch of new characters. So so she goes to pull the thing out of him, and when she touches it, the guy like goes and goes, "Don't you dare touch that dial, Fry!" Again, even though they're like on the planet already. And then like he's dying and he's in excruciating pain, and he's like, and she's like, "There's morphine. Go get it, so I could like inject him, so at least he could die without pain." Excuse me. And I think Johns is like, you know, there's none left, and blah blah blah. So like but then you find out that Johns became kind of a drug addict because of some.
Yeah, so he's just in the corner shooting up that morphine. He'd be like, "I don't know where it all went."
Oh yeah, like he injects it into his tear duct.
Ew.
Yeah.
Oh my shit.
Yeah.
I have a thing about eyes. You just. Oh my god.
It's one of the most painful things.
Oh, why? You
Yeah.
have two fucking arms. Does arms have two arms?
That's all.
Did I just say does arms have two jobs?
You totally did.
Oh, god damn it, I do this stupid thing where I mix things up.
Does Johns have two arms?
Yes, that is actually what I meant. In a perfect universe, I would have got it correct on the first go.
Johns is fine. And
Wait, no. Johns is not fine.
No, Johns is not fine.
No. So Johns has two arms.
Johns has two arms.
And so he willingly shoves a needle in his tear duct.
Twice a day.
And this is the same Johns that kept capturing Riddick? Well, I now understand why he's doing morphine.
Well,
He's probably...
Riddick at one point during their misadventures together injured him so badly that like he has severe chronic pain. So he just stole the morphine, and like, so yeah, like Fry finds that out later. But Johns asks her at one point. He's like, "Yeah, so what did that mean?" And Fry, like, not realizing that, because at this point Riddick kind of escapes, so they're like, "Holy
Shocker.
shit!" Yeah. So at this point, like,
No, not holy
planet.
shit. Like, oh, I'm holy shit, he got away
Yeah.
again.
So they're on this like really hot desert planet. There's no civilization anywhere, so it's not like Riddick could escape into civilization and just blend in or anything. Like, he's just gone. And like, you find, like, you see that he's kind of, like, fucking around with them. Like, remember what I said before when he, stole Revis's, hairpin?
Yeah.
He cuts a piece of, like, a lock of, Fry's hair off just because he can. Like, he's he
memeing.
He does shit like that.
He's trolling.
Yeah, he does. Like, that is exactly what he does. He trolls everybody. So, like...
No wonder they want to put him in jail so much.
So yeah, he, Fry makes the mistake of telling, Johns, like, because she doesn't realize yet that, like, exactly everything that happened, and that Johns is not a good dude. Like, she says to him, like, well, you know, like, he tried to stop a co-pilot from jettisoning
shooting it out the back.
Exactly, shitting out the passengers. So
you just see the plane flying over there like...
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, and the
do their ships have butts?
I wish. That would make this thing so much better. Like,
we're getting ideas for like a new sci-fi.
Especially
epic.
since it takes itself so seriously. If it had butts and it's like, and like
that grunt was definitely the perfect noise for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she makes the mistake of telling him that she tried, that she was freaked out and tried to like shoot everybody out and like save her own skin.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
Riddick was on this ship.
Yeah.
With Johns, they were all in cryo. Why were they on were they escorting Riddick again?
No, okay, so like all of the rest of the passengers were trying to go to this place called New Mecca, which is like this planet, like one of the passengers, one of the main characters, this guy, he doesn't have a name, they just call him Imam, which like if you yeah, like if you know anything
like electronic mom.
No, like what an imam is, it's like a Muslim priest almost.
Oh,
like,
okay, so this is legit. Okay.
Yeah, so like he doesn't have a name, they just call him Imam. And he's actually in spoiler alert, he survives Pitch Black, and he's in the second movie, The Chronicles of Riddick, and they just always call him Imam. Like, they don't give him a name like Imam.
So is it like when in like Cheers where they were all like Norm? They see him and they're like Imam.
Yeah. So
oh my shit! I called it.
Yeah. So Imam was traveling with like a bunch of like young kids that were like sort of like disciples and stuff that he was training.
Okay. I like the fact that they were all disciples.
Yeah. So there was this young kid. Some of the names in Riddick are amazing. Like, Jack is the kid's name, and his full name is Jack. B is his middle initial. Bad is his last name. B-A-D-D. Jack B. Bad. That's his name.
You can't, and for those of you who don't watch the video, you can't see how angry I look right now.
Yeah.
I am so salty at that.
Well, he's like, if I had to, I don't remember his like canonical age. I think he's like between, at the youngest 12, but I think he's 14. Like between those ages.
So the actor was probably like 25.
No, I think the actor was actually around that age at the time. But anyway, so yeah, so they're all like, holy shit, where's Riddick? Because, you know, Riddick escaped and he's obviously highly dangerous. And immediately this kid is like, there's this like art dealer in the group, and Jack like pops up behind him and pretends to like hold like a knife.
So they were all on this ship together and they survived.
Yeah, and Jack is like, you know, like, Riddick could show up anytime, and like you would never know. That's how good he is, and like
so everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, at this point, Riddick is notorious. Like everybody knows the name Riddick. Like you could go to any planet within this universe and be like, oh yeah, Riddick, and everybody would be like, fuck, you know, like everybody.
Like, did you see him? Like, is he here? Can we leave?
Yeah, like holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, so Jack. this kid Jack is immediately like, this dude is awesome, and immediately starts like hero worshipping Riddick.
Ooh, yeah, that's the kind of guy you want to hero worship.
Yeah. So, okay, so this is where we find out the threat of this planet. So, one of the, so I think I don't know if they're married, I think they're a couple, but there's this, I'm going to say they're a husband and a wife, but I don't remember the wife's name, but the husband's name is Zeke, and Zeke gets kind of pulled into this pit, and eaten.
Yeah.
Or killed by these creatures on this planet. And they think it's Riddick. They think Riddick killed him. So when they finally find Riddick, the wife, like, mounts him and starts, like, punching him. And it's like, what did you do with Zeke? And everything.
She mounted him to punch him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not usually the word we use when a woman jumps up on top of a man. For punching purposes. It's, yeah.
But, like,
yeah.
that's what she said. So,
No. She tackles. So, tackling is far different from mounting. Mounting gets mutual benefits out of this.
So they tie him up and everything, and, you know, they restrain him again. And Riddick convinces Johns that he's like, I'm not the one, like, I'm not the killer here. Like, I'm not the one that killed Zeke. You know, you have something else to worry about, and if I'm strapped down like this, I can't help you. So they go through their little, like, tiff, and he's like, you know, and Johnson's like, why don't I just kill you right now? And he's like, ghost me, motherfucker, that's what I do to you. And, like, so, finally, like, Johns lets him out, and is like, I want you to remember this moment where I could have killed you and I didn't. And he, like, spins, like, the tables. And instead of shooting Johns, he, like, shoots over to the side, and he goes, I want you to remember this moment where I could have killed you. So, like, it's one of my favorite moments in all of Riddick. So, like, a whole bunch of shit happens. Like, I'm not going to get into all of it, but, like, they find out that the reason why Zeke was killed in this pit is because, much like Riddick, these monsters, like, only could really, like, see and exist in the dark. Like,
hence the name Pitch Black.
Yeah. So, and they find out through, like, they find this, like, they call it a sand cat. It's like a ship, but it runs on solar energy.
And they find I was honestly hoping for an actual cat.
I know, right? So, like, skipping over a whole bunch of details, like, they find out that this planet is about to go dark. Like, you know how, like in the Arctic on Earth, how, like, it'll go, like, 6 months, like, you know, it's basically the same thing. I don't remember how long it is, but, like, it's a really long-ass time.
So those monsters must have been, like, down below, marking their calendars, being like, oh boy, I can't wait to go on the surface again.
Almost exactly. So
like, are they sentient, or are they just, like...
Okay, so the best way that I can describe it is almost like cicadas, how cicadas know, like, every 17 years, this is my time to shine.
I did not know that about cicadas.
Well, certain cicadas aren't every 17 years. Certain cicadas come out, like, more frequently, but, like, the ones that you and I both, like, very much are aware of.
No, I wasn't aware of any cicada things.
Okay, so, like, my nephew was born the year that cicadas, like, came out last time, so when my nephew was 17,
where do they hide?
Come out.
Did they hide on this desert planet with Riddick?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So no wonder it takes them so long to get here.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, these creatures are almost like cicadas. They, like, know when to come out. So, like, shit. Or was I? Fuck! Okay.
We were talking about the creatures that were, like, cicadas coming out
so, like,
when the polar caps did their...
the motherfucker and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, Riddick is obviously the only one that can see in the dark. And then there's...
He must be really happy looking at everybody like...
Yeah, so then there's this kid Jack who, like, hero worships Riddick from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And, so, like, I forgot to say, like, the really fucked up thing that one of the not prisoners, I keep saying prisoners. one of the
Children?
passengers
Oh,
says.
passengers, yes.
This art guy, a Paris P. Overley. I remember his name. I don't know why I always remember his name, but I remembered his name from like a very first time I ever saw it, and I've seen this movie a million times. But like Jack jumps down and like holds something to his neck, like it's a knife, and he's like, Riddick could show up anytime, and like that's how good he is. And Paris goes, now tell me, did you run away from your parents, or did your parents run away from you? And I'm like, that is one of the most fucked up things I've ever heard anybody say to a kid before. Like, so anyway, so yeah, so Riddick's like, you know, I'm not the threat you need to worry about here, and if I'm tied up, you need my help here. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I can help you here.
Yeah, yeah,
so
and then he spun. They did their little gun trick thing.
So
yeah.
they eventually let him go.
Yeah.
And he like tries, and like people die through like during the way, and so they eventually find out. Okay, so like basically, okay, at one point Imam takes Riddick off to the side, and he's like, you know, I already prayed with the others. If you want to pray, you know, it's painless. And Riddick is like, it's pointless. And he's like, you know, just because you don't believe. So Riddick starts telling him this, like, ridiculously horrible story. And he's like, you think you don't, like, you're not born with your umbilical cord wrapped around your neck in a garbage pail, and you don't believe? And he starts going through this whole thing. And then he goes, you're wrong, Imam. I do believe in God, and I absolutely hate the fucker. And it's like, oh, okay. So Imam, like, all of the younger kids that he was traveling with, at some point or another get picked off. Like, they're all done. Yeah. The only survivors at the end are Riddick, Johns, Jack, and Fry. And
apparently Imam, but, you know, we'll find
and
that out later.
And, so, when the last kid is picked off, Riddick, like, stands there laughing like a fucking psycho. And he's like, and he looks at Imam and he goes, where's your God now? And so they keep going. And at one point, like, they find out that these creatures are attracted to blood. And, so they all know that they don't have any cuts or wounds or anything. So then at one point, like, they keep getting, like, found by these things. So then, so Riddick goes, you know, and I forget what the conversation is, but he goes, and besides, the girl is bleeding. And Fry is like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not cut. I'm not bleeding. And he goes, not her. And John's like, yeah, what the fuck you talking about? And he's like, not her. Her. And he looks at Jack.
Oh, so
Take a second to realize what I'm saying to you right now.
I was literally gonna make a menstruation joke about, like, oh, better be careful about them bears.
So Jack,
they smell the blood on you. Oh my
Jack
shit!
looks at all of them like, ugh, and Johns goes, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
It
and
just reminds me of that 30 Rock skit where she's like, oh, my period.
And immediately Jack starts crying, and she goes, you know, I'm so sorry, like, Do you have a pad? No, like, she's like, I thought if you took me for a guy, nobody would mess with me. And it's like the really, like, one of the most sad things. But as they
Well, I mean, in that setting, there's probably blatant sexism.
Like, it's super sad. Like, even when I was, like, a teenager and I saw that for the first time, like, wow, that's fucked up.
Yeah,
like, she felt the need to pretend she was a boy in order to... I don't even fucking care. Look at my hair. Like, it's all in the face.
You're making me want to fidget with my hair. Just want to do pretty things with it.
Aliens. So it's just like this now.
Alright, so Jack has... This is the worst... You know what?
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories from women plenty of times about their first period, and I'm going to tell you right now, this takes the cake. on an alien planet, traded with monsters that are attracted by blood, in front of a group of people that you don't know. One of them is a convicted murderer, and basically you just drop your period without a tampon or a pad.
So this is what I mean about one of the things I love about Riddick.
Yeah.
So, like...
Tell me Riddick is like, here's a tampon.
No. That would be hilarious. But, like, okay, so, like, Riddick, like, I told you how he was with Lynn.
Yeah.
So, like, as they're progressing, he's talking to Johns. There's actually this really funny part where John, like, there's, like, this area that they're looking to hide in or something, and Johns is, like, looks at Riddick, because Riddick is the only one that can really, like, see better than all of the rest of them, and they find out very quickly that these creatures are almost allergic to light, and there are these, like, giant light things that they're dragging with them. So there's, like, this place that they're looking to, like, camp out or something. So Johns looks at him and he goes, so how does it look? And Riddick goes, it looks clear. So then, like, Johns goes closer and, like, I don't remember if it's, like, those creatures or if it's, like, the baby versions that have wings or something, but they come out, and Johns goes, I thought you said it was clear! And he goes, I said it looked clear! And he goes, so how does it look now? And Rick looks and he goes, looks clear. But, so anyway, later, so they're all going, and by this point, like I said before, it's just Imam, Fry, Johns, Riddick, and Jack. So Johns is talking to Riddick, looking to save his own ass, and he's like, you know, and he goes, I'm thinking we leave the girl for bait, because, like, they're tracking her. And Riddick is like, well, I'm thinking we need a bigger piece of bait. So he kills John. He winds up, like, wounding Johns, and the creatures cut him in half. And by this point, like, he had, if I recall correctly, like, he had yelled at them to run. So he catches up with them. And when he catches up with them, I think Jack asks, like, where's Johns? And he goes, which half? Because they, like, ripped him in half. So
that's the end of Johns.
Oh, yeah, Johns is dead by this point, finally. So Jack is upset and crying, and he's like, you know, he wouldn't have done the same for you. Don't you dare shed a tear for him. So what happens is, like, there's a ship that they're trying to get to. So what they wind up doing is they realize that it would be better if Riddick and Fry go to the ship and come back to pick up Imam and Jack. So Imam and Jack get put into this, like, little cave, like this alcove thing, and they put a rock in front of it. And remember before when I said that Riddick kind of, like, psychotically was like, where's your god? Like, where's your god now? So at one point while they're gone, Jack says to Imam, he's not coming back, is he? And Fry actually winds up getting killed at this point. Because Riddick, I forget exactly what happens, but Riddick gets injured really badly. Yeah. And at one point, Riddick asked her, like, would you die for them? Because of what happened in the very beginning of the movie. And she's like, yeah, you know, I would die for them. And when he gets injured and he can barely walk, she tries to help him. And she's like, come on, Riddick, I said I'd die for them. I never said I'd die for you. But she winds up getting killed trying to help him.
Aww.
And when the monsters, like, take her away, he, like, looks up and he goes, not for me. You know, like you said you wouldn't die for me. So he shows up to get Imam and Jack. And now remember, I said that Jack was like, he's not coming back, is he? So when Riddick shows up again, Jack's like, I never doubted for a second. And one of my favorite lines in all of the Riddick movies happens in Pitch Black, because Imam looks at Riddick and goes, there is my god, Mr. Riddick. So he, like, takes Riddick, and they
Does he do the snap?
I wish. Like, from this point forward, I'm always going to imagine, there is my god, Mr. Riddick. So he takes them, they wind up escaping the planet, which leads to the very next part of the story, which is a short film. It's an animated film called Dark Fury. Mm-hmm. And, like, a couple of important things happen here. Like, it's one of those, like, you could take it or leave it kind of things. Because, like, it introduces a couple of characters that are kind of crazy, but, like, and sort of memorable if you watch it, but, like, it's not that big a deal. So, like, they get, so there's this part where they get, sort of, like, intercepted by a merc ship, and Jack says to him, you know, like, yeah, you know, like, anything could be out here, even a merc ship. And when they realize it's a merc ship that's intercepting them, Riddick says, okay, first you were a boy, now you're a girl, then you were a girl, and now you're a psychic. Like, what the hell? So, so this guy, Junner, I think his name is, who's the right-hand man of the captain of this, I forget her name. It's, I'm gonna just call her Captain for a little while. Let me see. I think I wrote it down.
I like it. Let's stick with it. Captain for a while.
Chillingsworth. Chillingsworth. Okay, so Chillingsworth is fucking
she cool?
psychotic. She's psychotic.
Oh, so she's like, not chill.
Like, she keeps inmates in cryosleep posed in such a way as art. Like, that to her is art.
Okay, and Bioshock.
And Riddick is her ultimate thing. This is, like, according to the storyline, this is the first time we have ever heard the word Furia, which is the planet that Riddick is from. Riddick is a Furian, but that comes in, like, we find out more about this later, and we only see it briefly on a plaque. So, so Chillingsworth is like, when they first intercept it, Riddick, like, introduces himself as Johns, but they know through vocal things that, like, it's actually Riddick. So, they go to intercept him because they can see, like, 3 heat signatures, but he tells Imam and Jack to hold their breath, and he lets loose, like, this foam, this, excuse me.
It's okay.
This flame retardant foam.
From where? From where?
Like, it's basically like a large fire extinguisher that...
Oh, I thought you meant, like, from his mouth. I thought that was maybe, like, a thing his human features could do, where he just vomits flame retardant foam. This is why we're writers, by the way. I cannot wait to work with you on a project and just fucking go off the fucking rails.
I need tissues.
Oh.
Oh my god, I spit out. Oh no, there's no... Oh wait, no, there it is. I did a spit take into my own hand. No, shit. Oh my god, I spit. Look at this.
All over her pants.
So, anyway.
My bad.
You know, when I'm sober, I'm gonna watch this again and figure out what it was that made me
gonna wake up tomorrow and not remember a damn thing.
I'm actually pretty good at remembering. But
that's good.
Anyway, only once did I not remember.
Mm-hmm.
But, anyway, booze. So, so, this crazy woman, Chillingsworth, takes them on board after Riddick, like, they go and investigate, like, this foam stuff that and they were like, oh, it's flame retardant foam, like, that's why we couldn't pick up their heat signatures anymore. But Riddick starts, like, pulling them into the foam and killing them. And then, eventually, like, Jack, like, they're like, oh, well, they need to come up for air eventually. And Jack, like, comes up for air, and Junner, like, grabs her and pulls her down. And at one point, like, Junner has her, and, like, I don't remember if it's a gun with this giant knife, like, almost like a, like old style, like
a bayonet.
Yeah, but, like, there's this giant knife, and I don't remember if it's just, like, a sword or something, or if, like, it's attached to a gun. But Junner has it to Jack's head. And Riddick, at first, is like, the girl means nothing to me. Like, what are you doing? Like, you'd be doing me a favor. Like, she was just a backstory. You know? And And Chillingsworth is like, oh, okay, alright. But then when push comes to shove, when Jenner's about to kill Jack, Riddick saves her and, like, throws, like, the knife he has into, like, the weapon that Jenner has. And Chillingsworth is like, yeah, so maybe I know you a little bit more than you know yourself. So they get separated. Imam and Jack get separated from Riddick. And Jack is like, hero worshipy as she is. She's like, I'll find you, don't worry, all that jazz. So, Riddick goes with Chillingsworth, and Chillingsworth is, like, showing him around her gallery of, like, the most wanted men and women in the galaxy at one point or another. And the whole reason why she's so excited to see,
Riddick
is because she wants to see his barbarism in action. Excuse me, because every single one of her acquisitions thus far, she's only seen their work after the fact. So she wants to see him in action, and she keeps referring to Riddick as artist. And Riddick at one point says to her, like, lady, I've been called a lot of things before. That's not one of them. So she put Jack and Imam in this pit, and there's, like, a couple of mercs in there with him. And by this point, this is one of the important reasons why Dark Fairy is a thing. It's the introduction of the next merc that follows Riddick.
After Johns.
Yeah, after Johns. This guy, Toombs, who, as much as Johns was an asshole, Toombs is, like, super incompetent. So, like John's at least, like, drug addict and fuckboy though he was, he had his shit together as far as it was with mercenary work. I'm sorry, my hair wasn't, crazy enough, so I had to fix it. So, there we go. I'm gonna make it spiky. So, anyway, fuck, that went up my nose. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's not an artist.
No, but Chillingsworth is like, and here is your thing. Like, what is an artist without his instrument? And, like, throws his knife down at the ground for him to pick up to jump into the pit. And Riddick looks at her and is like, next time we meet, I'm gonna put this in your eye. So he jumps down into the pit and, like, sort of takes out all the mercs in there, but he doesn't kill them all. And then Chillingsworth is like, make it go ultraviolet. So the lights go down and only Riddick can really see. And these creatures come out. I forget what they're called. I want to say shriekers or something.
Okay.
I think I wrote it down, but whatever. So, so these, like, tentacled creatures come out.
Oh, okay, I'm into this. I like the tentacles.
Yeah, so they, they finish off the mercs that are in there with him. And at one point, like, one of them, like, grabs Jack, and Imam,
don't like where this is going.
Yeah, and Imam, like, grabs her and, like, pulls her down, and Jack is, like, kind of on the floor, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And Riddick says to Imam, like, get her up. And Imam is like, I can't see. And, like, and at one point, like, before that happens, Riddick tells Imam to start praying, but, like, before that, like, after that, like, when Imam is like, I can't see, Riddick goes, you don't want to, because he sees what's attacking them, so he takes them out, and, I forget exactly what happens, the sequence of events, but I believe it's Chillingsworth. Oh, yeah, like, when he takes them out, Chillingsworth says to him, like, because she had implanted, like that, the Suicide Squad thing we watched with the, like, the implant that
with the bombs, yeah.
Yeah, like, she had implanted one into him for, like, security purposes.
Into Riddick.
Like, yeah, into his neck. And when she was talking to him...
that's why he didn't just straight up kill her.
Yeah. After he took out the creatures... He whispers to Imam, like, hand me the shiv that you have. and he, like, digs it into his own neck and digs out the explosive device and throws it at her. And, like, this is the second reason why Dark Fury is important, because this is the introduction of Toomes, like I said before.
Mm-hmm.
Toomes is kind of trying to follow him throughout the thing after he escapes, but, like, one of the really important things about Dark Fury is that this is the start, like, I think it's Chillingsworth that tries to kill Riddick, that tries to shoot him, and then you see Chillingsworth get shot and killed. And when Riddick and Imam turn around, Jack was the one that pulled the trigger.
But bam! Jebaited.
So, yeah, and, like, Jack looks kind of shocked that she did it, but, like, as they're leaving the planet, both Imam and Riddick, like, Jack is asleep, and Imam and Riddick are talking about, like, how they're kind of concerned that happened, and Riddick decides to drop them off on New Mecca as planned. Because the whole thing was, like, the reason why Imam was going was, like, on a pilgrimage, and he was supposed to, like, wind up there anyway. Like, he actually says that at one point, like, they're in the pit, like, he's freaking out at one point, and he's like, I was just supposed to be on a pilgrimage, like, why am I here? So, like, so he drops him off and everything. So, like, I'm gonna skip over, like, a bunch of stuff, like, there's, like, a bunch of, like, short films, like comics and stuff. So, like, and
I didn't realize it was as big as it is.
Yeah, like, honestly, there are a couple of, like, I didn't know that there was, like, a mobile game when I first started.
Wow, really? Okay.
I downloaded it and I'm gonna play it. So, I don't know anything about the mobile game, so I'm not gonna go into the... I was like, holy shit. Yeah, it's like $2 and some change. So anyway, so yeah. So, I'm gonna go into the next movie, Chronicles of Riddick. So, the Chronicles of Riddick... by this point, it had been a while. I don't remember exactly how many years, but, like, it had been a long while since he had seen Imam or Jack or anything with them. So, he had purposely gone off and lived on his own on this, like, really frozen planet to try to get the scent off of them so no mercs would go after them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, by the time we see him again, like, he's got this giant beard and, like, long hair and everything, and, like, and these mercs are all of a sudden after him. So, including Toomes. Mm-hmm. So, Toomes, like, catches up with him and everything, and he finally, like, he takes out, excuse me, he takes out, Toomes' crew, and
is this the second film?
Yeah, this is the second film, The Chronicles of Riddick.
Okay.
So, so he says to Toomes at one point, like, you came after me with a crew of 5 people? That's fucking insulting. You know? But, like, he takes out Toomes' crew and corners Toomes and has a gun to him, and he's like, you know, who sent you after me? Like, what planet? So finally, like, Toomes gives up the planet, Helium Prime, I believe, which is the same as New Mecca, if I recall correctly. It might be different. But, like, he winds up on New Mecca, and at first he thinks that Imam sold him out. So he goes and seeks out Imam. And Imam, at this point, has a wife and a little daughter. And, so
how long does this take place after?
Oh, this is years after, like, I want to say, like, 11 years.
Oh, okay,
Could be, like, it's a long while after. By this point, Jack would have already been an adult. And, you know, like, Imam, like I said, is married and has a kid and everything. And, the kid is adorable. Her name is Ziza. But yeah, so he finds them. And, there's this woman who is an elemental who, like... So he senses her and, like, puts out his knife as she's walking, so the knife is up to her throat. And he goes, whose throat is this? And it's Dame Judi Dench. Dame Judi Dench was in this movie.
Wait, isn't that Mallory?
Mallory Archer?
Yeah, no.
No.
Who's Judi Dench?
Judi Dench. Oh God. Judi Dench was Moneypenny and like the new.
Oh shit! Yeah. Wait,
Okay,
wait,
so-
wait, hold on.
For starters, I love Judi Dench, and like I've been waiting.
Yeah, the older woman.
So
yeah.
I have been waiting so long.
Wait, is she
to
still
get-
alive?
Yeah, and she's still acting like she's got
Motherfucker, she's still acting. Holy
she's got
shit!
some eye problems now. Like,
Well, she's
going
83.
blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she like needs some of her scripts to be read to her, but
Aw.
she's still doing it. And I know it's
Yeah,
so sad.
she was M.
Yeah, I absolutely love her. I watch. Sometimes I still watch her show as time goes by, which was on like.
Yeah, she was just in Murder
Yeah.
on the Orient Express.
Yeah. So I've been waiting to get up to Judi Dench because I wanted to tell you specifically this one behind the scenes thing that I know.
Yeah.
So you mentioned before, and I bit my tongue because I wanted to say it then, but like you mentioned before that that Vin Diesel is a big D&D fan.
Yeah. Did he get Judi Dench into D&D?
Vin Diesel got Judi Dench to play D&D on set. I know. That was
Oh
one of the
man!
best things I ever heard.
This. By the way, when like I found that out, that was when he did Triple X. So like, I had found out because of the tattoo on his shoulder is actually the name of his orc barbarian, his half orc barbarian, and a cool thing about like. This was before Critical Role. This was years and years and years.
The only
So this was like
Critical Role thing I've ever seen in its entirety is the one shot he did with them.
yeah, well because Vin Diesel and he's great. So, but here's the thing, like D&D back then was not as mainstream as it is today. So having someone like Vin Diesel and Stephen like you could look at Stephen Colbert and you're like
That's actually like that.
you look at him and you're like yeah I could see he plays D&D.
That is a bucket list of mine. Like I want to get to a point like. And now you know me, I don't like attention or spotlight or anything like that, but I want to get to a point where I would be able to play a game of D&D, even if it was just a one-shot, play a game of D&D with both Vin Diesel and Stephen Colbert. Like, that is, like, an actual, like...
Well, now you have to have the
thing of mine.
trifecta and ask Judi Dench, but...
Like, yeah.
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 But-
I would like you to play, too.
Oh,
If you want to come in.
Yeah.
So yeah, he puts the thing up and she shows up and she's what's called an elemental, like that's her thing. And so her element is wind. So she corporealizes because like she can't pass through the blade, and he's like, whose throat is this? And she goes, well, if you cut my throat, I won't be able to lift the bounty on your head. She put the bounty on his head because they needed his help. And that was the only way that they could do it. And it wound up being tombs from Dark Fury that went after him. So they tell him about this threat, the necromongers. And the necromongers are these, like, these people who, like, their leader is this holy half-dead person who has been to what's called the Threshold in the Underverse. And
Yeah.
the Underverse is basically like, it's almost like a religious thing, and like they, yeah, it is kind of a religious thing, but they're these people who like, their thing is they convert, and if you don't convert, they kill you. And like one of their
Oh, so Far Cry 5.
essentially, and like their big rule is you keep what you kill. So like, let's say like you and I were necromongers, and like I had like some equipment or something that you really liked, and you killed me. By rights, you can keep the equipment.
So what if if I killed a librarian, I get the library?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
by necromonger standards, it's true. So yeah. So Riddick is obviously not having any of that with his problem with authority and all. So so a couple of actors in this, other than Judi Dench, one of the key soldiers in the Necromonger army is Carl Urban.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Carl
Love him.
Urban is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, he plays Vaco, who's one of my favorite characters in all of Riddick thing. And his wife, Lady Vaco or Dame Vaco, I don't remember now because fucking vodka. But she's played by Tandy Newton, who I adore. And the shit. Fuck! What is the name of their leader? Fuck! I don't remember.
So their leader's name is fuck.
Yeah, so
Okay.
fuck is
Okay.
played by Colm Fior, who for those of you that don't know, if anybody out there is a Stephen King fan, the Storm of the Century, Colm Fior was the give me what I want and I'll go away guy. He was also, actually for Thor fans, he was also, what's his name? Fuck. The first one, Laufey. He was Laufey. For those of you out there that would know that. So, hang on, I'm pouring vodka into my glass. This is important.
Okay.
Vodka, yay. So, anyway, so he's their leader, and and Riddick shows up
Yeah, so
during their, like, the Necromongers kind of storm New Mecca, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna take over, and Riddick kind of storms their, I want to say press conference, that's not the word, but I'm gonna go with it, so they storm the press conference, and Riddick shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm not having any of this. So then he's like, so he picks the biggest guy in the room, who clearly has seen better days because he has like a fucking dagger sticking out of his back. So he's like, I'll take a piece of that guy. And Valky's like, a piece you'll have. So Riddick fights this guy and obviously beats him. And takes the knife, and they're like, well, in Necromonger culture, you keep what you kill. So he keeps the knife. And so there's this whole big thing. The Necromongers try to take over, and Imam winds up dying, unfortunately.
well, he had 11 years. So,
But
you
like,
know.
yeah, but Imam at one point, like, Riddick asks about Jack, because Jack's not there. And Imam is like, she never forgave you for leaving. And Riddick's like, I left to protect you guys because, like, I didn't want them, like, I didn't want anybody, like, tracking you down because, like, you were associated with me. But, so Ziza, at one point, Imam's daughter, is like, Riddick, like, are you gonna, like, hunt the monsters now? And Riddick is like, I am the monster. And he goes after the Necromongers. And winds up captured by tombs and brought to this prison planet called Crematoria. And they actually mention Butcher Bay at one point, like during the thing. And he's like, Butcher Bay, they have a cell open for me and they like make good pancakes and shit. like he's very blasé about the whole thing. And when he gets to Crematoria, there's this woman, this very young woman who attacks him, and says, "Where do I get eyes like that?" Which is one of the first things Jack said to him.
Yeah.
In Pitch Black, and he says, "You got to kill a few people," and she says, "I did that. I did a lot of that." It's fucking Jack. Like, Jack is in Crematoria with him. But she says to him at one point, like, the name is Kira now, and I'm a whole new animal. So, like, she tells him what happened. Like, Jack left New Mecca to go looking for him because, like, Jack loved him like he was her older brother. Like,
The idol worship kind of thing.
Yeah, and
looked up to him.
Yeah, and like, she, like, even in Dark Fury, like, when they were being separated from each other, like, Jack yelled at him, like, we won't leave without you. Like, she adored him from the start. So, like, So at this point, she's like kind of disenchanted with him because he left, not realizing because she was so young when it happened that he was doing that to protect her. So so at this point, like, she had gone out to look for him, and she actually joined up with Mercs, which Riddick was like really pissed off about because like they're the enemy. But like she joined up with Mercs and everything, and instead of like taking her on and teaching her the trade, they made her a slave, and they slaved her out, and then like this became a thing, and then she wound up and she wound up here. So she's pissed off at Riddick for a lot of that, but she's also super dangerous. Like at one point, like they go to frisk her, and they say to her, like, the guy that's going up to, like, he basically kind of, like, it's gross, but he kind of feels her up. I'm not, like, there's no way.
Well, that's what frisking is, but,
yeah,
but it's like, yeah, let me go cup your boob in case you have a knife taped to your boob, yeah.
He feels her up and, like, her butt and everything.
Yeah, because, like, knives are hidden up there.
But one of the guards says, like, be careful with that one because she always has a knife on her. So he's, like, feeling her up, and there's, like, no knife, but she has it kind of, like, in her boot. It's, like, one of those things where, like, she stomps, and, like, the knife comes out of her front. And she cuts him up and, like, beats him up, and then, like, the other two guards, like, close in on her. And, Riddick shows up. And do you remember at the very start of this where I said that there was one kill that was, like, my favorite Riddick kill and all the thing? Yeah. This is where it comes up. So he says to them, like, he's got a teacup, and he's, like, stirring his tea, and he's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. I don't think she likes to be touched. And they're like, who the fuck are you? And, like, through this whole big thing, he's like, like, so he's like, oh, you'll kill me with your mug? And he's like, it's teacup, actually. So the guy doesn't believe him, so he crushes the teacup. Like, it's like this, like, metal thing. So he crushes the teacup on this rock next to him and, like, shoves it into his chest. And, like, it goes like this. So, like, then the other guy's like, oh my god. So he puts, like, this, like, metal thing. It's not a spoon, but it's, like, this metal thing down onto the rock like he did the teacup, and the guy gets scared and runs away. And Kira goes up and picks up the teacup, like, and takes the teacup out of the guy's chest, and he's like, death by teacup, why didn't I think of that? So, like, they eventually escape, and, so here's the thing, like, there are two possible endings here. There's an alternate ending. So there's one where they just kind of trap Toombs on crematoria, and then there's another one where Toombs dies. So that's one of the things where it's like, pick your poison, whichever one you want. Like, I don't hate Toombs like I hated John's. Like, Toombs, I don't mind if he lives, because he's kind of dumb. So I don't think
it's fun to watch him fuck up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I don't mind if he survives, but like, he and a bunch of the other prisoners wind up escaping. And the thing about crematoria is it's so hot that, like, if you get hit by the light, you will incinerate immediately. So, like, there's this fight that ensues, and one of the necromongers is this guy. And do you remember Shira from Butcher Bay?
Yeah.
And how I said that she showed up again? Yeah. So in the very beginning of the Chronicles of Riddick, not in Pitch Black, but in the very beginning of Chronicles of Riddick, he has this vision while he's in cryosleep after leaving Jack and Imam of this woman who is Shira. And he says, like, and she says, like, like, your brain shuts down in cryosleep, all but the primitive side, the animal side, all but the Furian side. And, like, she puts her hand on his chest. And, so fast forward to, like, and he remembers that, and fast forward to this guy who is, like, I forget what his official title is, but I want to say he's the Converter, but, like, he's a necromonger, and he is left alone on crematoria with Riddick, and Kira is gone, everybody that they escaped with is dead, so the guy says to him, like, the necromonger in me wants you to fail, because he says that he wants to kill the leader. And he says the Furion in me, like, the necromonger in me wants you to fail, but the Furion in me hopes you won't. And he opens up his shirt, and like Riddick, like when Shira put her hand on him, like he had this glowing handprint.
Yep.
And this guy, who by the way was played by the same guy who played Bruce Wayne's dad in the Nolan trilogy, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, except he had like super blonde hair. So after this, he goes, like, that guy goes out into this, like, the light and burns himself to death. Because you kind of get the sense from the very beginning that he hates what he's become.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things that he kind of like had to. But also over the course of the movie, there are two things that happen. One, Lady Vako wants, because there's that necromonger rule, you keep what you kill. Lady Vako wants Vako to kill the leader, so he becomes the leader.
Yeah.
And also, you find out, oh shit, give me a second, there was a train of thought that got derailed. Fuck, okay, this will have to be edited out so I remember it. Okay, Deacon, but like a lot of this is like stuff that can be cut out.
Yeah. So just when we get to the final Riddick film, try and concise that to the
Well, the final Riddick film is like I'm trying to like speed through Chronicles of Riddick as much as I can. It's just that I hit a mental block.
a mental block.
Mental block.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's it.
Oh yeah. So like, you find out about this prophecy that, like, okay, so there's this tragedy on Furia.
Mm-hmm.
There's like no Furians left, because you find out in Chronicles of Riddick that there was this prophecy that a Furion would rise up, a Furion boy, I think specifically, would rise up and kill Lord Marshal! Finally, I remember the Lord Marshal is the leader, would kill the Lord Marshal. And so, as a precaution, he killed, like...
All of them.
Yeah, very biblically, he killed, like, all of the children.
He Shakespeare'd it.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, if you recall what I said about Pitch Black, what he said to Imam about, like being a baby with your umbilical cord wrapped around you in a trash bin, basically. Like, that's what happened to Furia. Like, there are no Furians left because of that. So, like, because there was a prophecy that a Furion would rise up, like a Furion child would rise up and kill him. So, like, basically, like, so there's this final showdown, because, like, you find out that Lord Marshal took Kira and converted Kira to be a necromonger. And Kira says to him, like, it does hurt at first, but then, like, everything that they promise is true. And he says to her, "Are you with me, Kira?" And he doesn't, she doesn't really respond. But there's this fight that he has with Lord Marshal, and she tries to help him. And Lord Marshal kills Kira. And, Vako tries to kill Lord Marshal, but, like, there's this weird thing that he does where, like, he can sort of, because he's been to the Underverse, and he's kind of, and like I said, he's a holy half-dead, so
yeah.
He's half-dead, so he kind of, like, he can sort of, like, see what happens ahead of time, and sort of, like, I want to say almost like the Flash, like, kind of, like, rush to the next, thing. So, like, he tries to do that, but Riddick is waiting for him, and he has, like, the knife waiting. So when Vako tries to kill him, he rushes over to Riddick, who then stabs a knife in his neck, and his head, and kills him. And because you keep what you kill, even though he's not a necromonger, he becomes the leader of the necromongers.
Yeah.
Which is where the last movie happens, Riddick.
Yeah.
In the beginning of Riddick, you find out that, like, Vaco, essentially, like, Vaco it's essentially is, like, a really, actually good necromonger, and, like, really fully believes in it, like, so even though Riddick wasn't one of them, and he'd never, like, fully, like, committed to it, or,
And that was Carl Urban's character.
Carl Urban is the man.
So he was the Judge Dredd of the necromongers.
Essentially. So, like,
Shit.
yeah. Man, I haven't seen that movie in ages. So, like, so even though Riddick, like, wasn't one of them,
Mm-hmm.
he fully believed, like, look, he's not one of us, but you keep what you kill. Like, he is our leader now. So he was loyal, to a degree, to Riddick.
Yeah.
And, but, like, since he became the leader of the necromongers, like, everybody was out to get him. Like, it wasn't like the first Lord Marshal. Like, when Riddick was the Lord Marshal, because he wasn't one of them to begin with, everybody tried to kill him. Everybody was like, he's not one of us, we need one of us to lead us and take us to the threshold. And Riddick never did that. So, one of the, like, concubines, like, there's this part where, like, he wakes up and he's in bed with these two, like, really gorgeous women, and he goes to this window and he's looking out, and there's this one part, I forget which movie it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Chronicles of Riddick, because he says it's Kira, if I recall correctly, like, where, like, there's this part that, like, you stab and it'll kill a man, like, between your ribs, and one of the concubines tries to do it, but she gets the wrong rib, so he, like, turns around and kills her. But, like, the other concubine is loyal to Riddick and tries to warn him before she does it. So, like, so he winds up getting banished on this planet. And the thing about Riddick is he's fucking resourceful. So he winds up, like, there are these, like, dog creatures on the planet. I forget what they're called. They almost look like giant hyenas, if that helps.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, so a bunch of them try to kill him. He kills a bunch of them and then finds this, like, little puppy that's all by himself. So he takes the puppy and raises the puppy. And then he finds that scorpion creature that you found before. Those are on this planet. And the thing about them is they're super poisonous. And the baby ones are worse. So, like, the baby ones, if the baby ones get you, you're basically dead. So, like, he raises this puppy and catches a baby one and immunizes himself and the puppy. So, like, if he gets caught by one of them, that's it. But, like, these creatures, like, live in, like, these, like, excuse me, in these, like, muddy sort of, like, marsh sort of conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So, he and this dog live together for a while. Like,
Aww.
he raises the dog
Puppers.
into adulthood. Yeah, this pupper is so cute. And, like, and they're, like, best of friends and everything. And then he notices that there's this giant storm coming. So it's a lot like Pitch Black.
Yeah.
And he notices that there's this huge storm coming, which means that everything is going to get flooded, which means that these creatures are going to be able to expand much farther than they were. So he finds a merc ship. And when he realizes what's going to happen, he lets himself be scanned because he knows that there's a bunch of mercs that are going to show up at that location. So a bunch of mercs show up. Have you ever seen Bad Boys 2, by the way?
No, I've never seen any of the Bad Boys films.
Okay, so I'm a big fan of the Bad Boys series. And the first merc ship that shows up, this guy shows up. And if for anybody out there that's listening that knows Bad Boys, I said to my brother when we first watched it, because the third movie is just called Riddick. So I said to my brother, I was like, who does this guy think he is, Johnny Tapia? And then he pulls down the bandana, and it's actually the guy who played Johnny Tapia
Wow.
in
odds.
Bad Boys. So I was like, oh, I guess he is. So the reason he did that, Batista, obviously you know who Batista is.
You mean Drax the Conqueror? Yeah.
Yeah, so he was in, in Guardians of the Galaxy. So Batista is in this movie. So Batista sees that there's, that Riddick left a note. And the note that Riddick left was, leave one ship and take the other, basically, and nobody has to get hurt. So they're like, what the fuck is he talking about? We only showed up with one ship. But another merc ship pops up. His whole thing was, he let himself be scanned because he knew that multiple merc ships would show up. So his whole thing was, nobody has to die, nobody has to get hurt. You just take one ship, I'll take one of the others, and we go our separate ways. Obviously, nobody wanted to do that. But the second merc ship that shows up, and this guy is, kind of logical and everything, and is trying to help Johnny Tapia and his crew. Mm-hmm. And it's I know a lot about Riddick. You are way over your head and everything, and Johnny Tapia won't, take his help. And Johnny Tapia is a douchebag, because, one of the other guy, the other guy who's the leader, his second in command is this woman called Dahl, D-A-H-L, a German name. And he's gross. We'll just leave it at that. He had a female prisoner, and we'll just leave it at that. He's fucking gross. So, I don't really feel like going much deeper into that. So, this guy keeps trying to help him. And he won't accept the help until his crew starts dying. So then finally he says, okay, guy, what's your name? The guy says his name is Johns. He's William J. Johns' father, who Riddick fucking killed in Pitch Black. And and all he knows is that Riddick killed his son. He doesn't know any of the particulars or anything, and that is why he wants to go after Riddick. So, and I remember watching this movie for the first time, and I looked at my brother, and the two of us kind of looked at each other like, holy fucking shit, I can't believe this. So they're kind of going after him, and all of Johnny Tapia's crew is dying.
Yeah.
Riddick, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And, he's already threatened Riddick that he's gonna have his head in it. Okay, so, before this movie, the bounty on Riddick was basically, dead or alive, but you'll get more alive. And Riddick...
Why would anyone ever, after all of this, even just be just kill him?
Because they wanted him to suffer, but at this point they realized that that's not gonna happen.
Right?
So at this point it's more if he's dead. So they're trying to kill him, but that's obviously not fucking happening. And then they kill his dog, because his dog tries to protect him, and it's really sad.
Oh.
It's one of the saddest things, but so Riddick picks off this guy's crew one by one, and then he does his stealth thing. Yeah, and then he does a stealth thing where he spies on Dahl while she's washing up at one point, because he fucking can, and he's trying to look in at everybody. And Johnny Tapia made the mistake of threatening that he was going, at the end of everything, he was going to have...
Or you should stop hitting your thing.
Yeah, sorry.
You're shaking the camera and it keeps blurring you.
I look better that way.
I mean, I'm gonna say you don't, but some people might be into it, so... Yeah.
So he says to him that by the end of everything, he's gonna have his head in this glass box. And he brought this glass box specifically to bring his head back to whoever was gonna pay the bounty. So Riddick is like, that's not gonna happen. So, like, through a bunch of things, like, he winds up captured. And he's trying to tell John's crew what's going on and that they really need him. And John's really, like, Papa John's, as much as I don't want to call him that, Papa John's.
I mean, you know, like the actual Papa John's, he seems like an inept jackass, so...
Not this guy, at least now. Like, he, honestly, like, the only thing he wants, and he says this to Johnny Tapia, he says, you know, like, all I want is answers. After I get what I want, you can have him. Like, you can keep the bounty. I don't want any of the money. I just wanted the chance to question him. So he questions him, and he's not getting the answers he wants. And Riddick is like, yeah, so, you know, like, I'm the least of your worries because these creatures are coming and everything. So he, excuse me. So he, so eventually they try to let him out, and Johnny Tapia tries to be like, no, that's not happening. And Riddick eventually gets his head in the box, like he promised he would. And so they let him free to help him. And during the course of, like, a bunch of events, like, one of the things I love about this movie is, like, it's not pitch black, but they kind of went back to their roots. The other thing is, like, Doll is presented as lesbian, but she could be bisexual. And that's
how it always is.
Well, she could be, because, like, at one point...
That's why they're called bi spies, because you never know if they're gay or lesbian or straight or bi.
Because as much as I love Riddick, like, he makes a crude comment about how, like, he's going to be balls deep in her because she's going to ask him. Like, it's not going to be, like, a thing where...
Well, at least he's not... Like, at least he's being like, she's going to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, it could have been...
He actually says to her, like, because she's going to ask, all nice and sweet, like, and that comes back later. So he tries to get them to this, like, I don't remember if it's this other ship or if it's this power source or whatever the case may be. But at one point, like, Papa John tries to get him to... John's, rather. Tries to get him to, like, dig this thing out. So he's digging, and he's like, you know... And Riddick tells him the truth about his son. And he's like, yeah, you know, like, your son is not how you remember him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was a junkie the last I left him. And he was trying to kill a kid. To leave the kid as bait, and that didn't sit right with me, which is why I killed him. And Papa John's was like, yeah, you know, like, that's not the Johns I know. And he's like, well, then you didn't know your son. So they get the power sources and everything that, if I don't remember exactly, but I think Riddick might have buried them. I don't remember, but, like, that's, like, Riddick knew where they were, and that's why he was digging them out. At some point, everybody dies except for Papa John's and Doll and Riddick.
Oh, Papa John skated by on this one.
Yeah. And,
for his crimes against pizza. That's not forgivable.
So, like...
If you're a fan of Papa John's, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry for you.
I mean, I eat Domino's out of sheer desperation when I have to, and I hate it.
Well, yeah, but, like, one is trash tier and one is, like, less trash tier.
Yeah. Well, booze is great.
Booze is great. So, do you think Riddick likes booze?
I think a little bit, yeah.
Right? To numb all the bullshit he has to go through. Okay,
Probably.
so
yeah,
John's
okay,
and everybody
like,
gets away, yeah.
We're coming up to the end. So, like, they all wind out escaping these creatures. At one point, the way that we find out that the little ones are the worst, because Riddick had captured one of the little ones to immunize himself and his dog that died. But the way we find out that the little ones are the worst is that one of Johnny Tapia's crew gets stung by one of the little ones.
Oh.
And Riddick is like, yeah, the little ones are the worst because they don't know how to, like really control their venom. It's just like a thing where they like inject you with all of it. So anyway, so they're dealing with the big ones, and like they need the power sources that Riddick dug out to get to the ship to escape. And there's this moment where Papa John's tries to like he looks like he's going to, because Riddick gets like injured trying to like help out, and Papa John's leaves him there. So we're like, holy shit, he's just shitty as his son. But then eventually Papa John's and Doll come back to save Riddick. And it's like, Papa John's is a merc. So, like, if you're a fan of the Riddick series, you've learned to hate mercs. But, like, Papa John's is like, he's like a really good dude. And he's not his son at all. And he saves Riddick from these creatures because, like, he's a man of his word. And he says to him at one point, like, you know, like, I saved you because, like, you were trying to help us, but, like, if we meet again, I can't promise you that I can do the same thing. Which, you know, is noble. Like, you understand that.
So you get the pass this
like,
time.
He's a mercenary. Like I'm letting you go because you helped us this time. And, like, Doll, you know, like I mentioned that before about, like, I'm gonna be balls deep in her because she's gonna ask me all nice and sweet. Like, Doll comes down from the ship to bring Riddick up, and it's heavily implied because, like, she says earlier in the, because I, like, when I said that she's a lesbian but she might be bi, because she says to Johnny Tapia, who's really grotesque, and I don't know how to say this other than he's kind of rapey. He's gross.
I mean, you know,
because he had a female prisoner who, like, let's not get into that. It was
no,
bad.
you're right. I can't think of.
Bad.
You know the best way to be like. He's kind of got that sexual predator vibe.
Yeah, and like, and the best thing is that, like, he tries to do that with Doll, and Doll keeps kicking the shit out of him. Like, Doll is such a great character. I fucking love her. Yeah. But
she sounds like a doll.
Oh, she's great. Yeah. But like she's the one that, like, comes down on one of those harnesses to bring Riddick up to the ship when Papa John's comes and rescues him after all, and she says to him, like, "Hey, Riddick, I got a question." All nice and sweet, like. So it's like, oh,
it's heavily implied,
yeah. It's heavily implied. But, like, so Papa John's lets him go, and he's like, you know, I can't promise that this is gonna happen the next time you cross paths. So, like, you know, if we never cross paths again, okay, I guess that's it. But, like, you know, like, this is, like, I'm gonna, like, you helped us, so I'm gonna help you. And it's like, it's this thing where, like, you know, he's this really good guy, and you get this sense that, like, he's actually kind of, like, really disappointed with the way that his son turned out, but, like, he kind of believes Riddick at the end because So, like, that's basically, like, where we cut out with the movies. There's a bunch of, like, little things here and there. Like, there's like William Johns, like, the son, like, he had, like, a mercenary log and everything. So there's, like, a couple of little things here and there that you can look into, but yeah, like,
that's what wikis are for.
Yeah, so, like, the last movie, like there's some, like, cool shit in there, but, like, it's not, like, something, like, so important that you need to mention it now. But, like,
it's fluff.
Exactly, like, it's really cool, and I do recommend you looking into it.
Yeah.
But Riddick was the last movie, and then there is actually a movie that is set to film. I hope it happens, and I don't know when, but it's called The Chronicles of Riddick, Furia, and it's about the planet that he's from. And if I recall correctly, the Furians were like a warrior race before the Necromongers showed up and like killed everybody. So like, yeah. So that's basically Riddick. And I love it, and I'm so glad that you let me explain it.
No, I'm happy to do it. I've never seen the films,
Yeah.
and never knowing what they're about. I'll definitely give the Pitch Black a try, see if I like it.
Yeah, like it's one of those things that like, growing up, also like when I was a teenager, I always loved it. Nobody I knew ever
got into it.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
As a matter of fact, like when we had our first Fierce Ferret thing, like our first Fierce Ferret meeting, and you first mentioned to all of us the Drunk Fandom, the very first thing I thought of was I want to do the Chronicles of Riddick because nobody I know knows about this.
Yeah, no, and it's a good one because it's clearly popular enough that it got 3 movies and a bunch of spin-off stuff.
Yeah, and they actually have, if they happen, like they're contractually like not obligated, but they have contracts for like several things coming in the future.
Well, it just means Vin Diesel has to play them in a game of dice. So,
dude,
yeah, right.
Like,
that's
honestly,
how it's happening.
like, I mean, I love Vin Diesel anyway. Like, I was gonna make a joke about because like I'm also a big Fast and Furious fan, and one of the things I drank to get to this point was a Corona, and I was gonna make you could have any brew you want as long as it's Corona, which is a Fast and Furious line.
Okay, I've never seen those films either, so.
I haven't seen any of the ones past when Paul Walker passed away, so.
Well, we are going to get to the part of the show where I talk about what I learned about the Chronicles of Riddick.
Yes, I'm excited. What did you learn?
I have learned that in the far, far future, Vin Diesel should just be left the fuck alone. Because all it gets you is a bunch of trolling, memeing, and death.
Yeah.
No, seriously, just fucking let this one go. Like, in all these stories, I'd be like, there was this wanted man or this great warrior. Just fucking leave them alone. They're not doing anything. Just let them just drink beer and get drunk. Don't fuck with it. Don't poke the bear. Don't poke the space bear. Don't poke Riddick.
Yeah.
That's what I learned.
I think I actually forgot to say it, but like, he actually says it's like in Butcher Bay, Hoxie asks, like, when he has Hoxie, like, he can do anything he wants. Hoxie's like, I'll give you anything you want. And Riddick is like, I just wanted to be left alone.
Yeah, no, and I got that vibe the entire time you told me, where he just keeps going off by himself, and then some jackass grabs him, and I get it, he's a murderer and a criminal, but there's a fine line of effort and trouble. And if the ratio to trouble just surpasses effort so much, you might just want to fucking let this one slide and just be like, Riddick? No, we don't know no Riddick. No, man, we don't know Riddick. Riddick? I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
This man, woman, fear, scorpion. Just we're good. I am out. Let's yeah. So, that was Drunk Fandom Episode 4, the Chronicles of Riddick. Thank you, Wombat Baron, for coming out for this. She actually came out in person. She wanted to visit us.
It's been like over
it's been almost a year, yeah, at this point, but it's great, and we're, for next episode, it is going to be Drunk Fandom Episode 5. I will be the drunkie, and Episode 5 will be My Hero Absinthe. It's going to be a podcast all about My Hero Academia to celebrate the new season. So, we hope to see you there. Thanks again, and, yeah, stay drunk. Or not. Wait, no, that's really bad advice. Don't do that.
Be sober!
Yes,
Drink
at some point, be sober.
Don't be Wombat.
Yes. With that, have a great night.